Welcome everyone to another game of Axis and Allies Online. In this one we are playing as the Allied Powers, going up against user Chris, who is currently the 13th ranked Platinum Axis player in the current ranked season. I think I saw, and I record these after the game just so you know, these intros. I think I saw he's like, before this game was, 13-2 with the Axis in the current ranked season. And we end up having a very, very good game, in my opinion. It's a game that very early on, we were dealt a bad hand, and we had to scratch and claw our way back into this one, which we ultimately were able to. Was it enough to actually come home with the victory? Steal one out from under a platinum ranked player? You guys are gonna have to watch on to find out. You know how this works. I'm not a huge fan of spoilers. You're gonna have to watch on to see how things play out. Overall, it was a very good game. I really enjoyed this one. I did not know our player was a platinum ranked player going through this, and knowing that, it provides a little context into some of the things, and there's certainly a lot to take away from not just some of the things that I did, maybe some of the mistakes I made, like typical learning lesson type things you can get from your own play. And obviously this is narrated by me and you only see my thought process and my moves. There's certainly a lot to take away from how our opponent played this. So that's all I'm going to give you guys. You'll have to watch the rest for yourselves. If you enjoy this, please do like, subscribe. These games take a ton of time to not only record, but edit. So if you do enjoy it, please do hit that subscribe button. It does mean a lot, as I am planning to continue to push games out. But enough rambling by me. Let's go ahead and hop into this one. All right, Russia round number 1. So in this game, I think purchase-wise, I'm going to start with what I think a lot of people believe is the meta purchase for the Russians. We'll get 4 infantry, 2 tanks. We'll look for an opportunity if we get some good dice in Ukraine to retreat, and then we'll have a pretty nice thick stack of 5 or 6 tanks if we get that opportunity, and we can threaten Karelia, which is the idea with those tanks. So we'll go ahead and lock that purchase in, see if we get that chance. The actual attacks themselves will be the same. We will go with the 12-9, and that will do it. We'll lock that in. All right, we had absolutely atrocious dice in Ukraine. He has fighter, bomber, tank remaining. We have tank and 2 fighters we're retreating with. Just absolutely brutal dice. I need to calculate if we can hold Caucasus. That is priority number 1 right now. Do we have enough to hold? We will send, in the meantime, this sub over here. We know what we're gonna do in all these territories. That guy there, this guy north. We will pull everyone off of the Japanese, as we are likely going to need these troops very, very soon. All right, quick calculus on the Caucasus here. If he sends, optimally everything that he can, tank infantry on the transport, battleship bombarding, all the air, 3 tanks, and we defend with, optimal defense of everything we can, all AA guns, tanks, we build some units. He has a 56% chance to take that. And honestly, if I were him, I'd probably do it, because those are not all units that he necessarily requires over the long game. And taking out everything that we have with the Russians, chance to take out our fighters, all our tanks, everything like that, is probably not a target we want to give him. So unfortunately, I think that means we will need to seed the Caucasus this turn. We'll bring everything back. We can still send that guy there just so Japan doesn't get too cute. And we'll build everything in Russia. Yeah, I don't think we have a chance to hold it. So we'll offer to trade it. Maybe we can stack it next turn with these guys, depending on what he does in Karelia. If I were him, I would just be I'd push hard into both of these with as much as he can and make me decide what I'm going to do. But we'll see. Unfortunately, those dice are just horrendous. Just horrendous dice. So it'll be a interesting. And now, honestly, this purchase is terrible. Like, the whole idea of buying 2 tanks is if you get like a decent outcome in either of these, you're in a good position to hold Karelia, trade it for another turn. But when things go poorly, they go poorly. And I really wish, that was an additional unit instead of 2 tanks, but hindsight, as they say. That will close Russia 1. Brutal. That sucks, but we will see what we can do when we return for UK round number 1. United Kingdom round number 3. Take a look at what Germany did last turn. They went ahead and they purchased 5 infantry, 4 artilleries, and a fighter. Take a look at the state of the board after. Combat-wise, took Karelia, took that with 5 infantry, stepped in pretty good, took Caucasus, but I assume that came from, these units in Southern Europe. West Russia, lost 3 infantry, lost 3 tanks, but did take the territory, wiping out our 7 infantry, our 1 tank, and our 2 artilleries, which absolutely sucks. C-Zone 7, lost 2 subs, but did take that successfully, and we are already, oh boy, we are already under some serious pressure in Moscow, which absolutely sucks. Very much sucks. So this game is going to be all about how we can potentially save Russia. And I think that kind of means we need to focus everything in on Germany and the Atlantic and leave Japan to their own devices, unfortunately. I don't think there's much we can do. We need to try and survive Germany and hope that buys us enough time to survive Japan. We'll see how that goes. But purchase-wise, that means that we need to get some fighters into Russia. So we're going to buy 2 fighters, and then I'm thinking we'll buy just 3 infantry for India, because we're likely going to need to vacate it at some point, and we can then start using these infantry to push north. We got our work cut out for us here. We definitely got our work cut out for us here. So I'll do a standard purchase for me: 2 fighters, 2 artilleries, 1 infantry. Go ahead and lock that in. Now for attacks, we do need to clear C-Zone 7, so we will go ahead and attempt to do that. We'll go ahead and take the transport out, and then we'll throw the rest of the air with the cruiser and the sub. I think in the Pacific, we will not do anything crazy, but we will take the fighter and the cruiser and try to hit 61. And then since he didn't do trans, I'm going to bring this aircraft carrier into 17. We'll drop that fighter on that. We'll non-com these infantry into Egypt as well. I don't think he'd be able to take Egypt with that from there. 1, 2, 3. He can bring a fighter. I don't think he can clear 17. His only air he could hit with is this fighter here. So I don't think he'd be able to clear this with a battleship versus destroyer fighter aircraft carrier. I think taking out this transport's key. I don't think we can leave Japan with a free transport, so that's a must-do, unfortunately. And then these boats will just swing to the east. I need to get this transport into the Atlantic, dropping troops in Africa or in Europe ideally as soon as possible. So very, very, very defensive turn for the UK here. Yeah, we don't have any chance to take this battleship, otherwise I definitely would. I hate the idea of giving him now another chance to ferry 2 more infantry artillery, plus this, plus these 4 tanks. I mean, he can stack Caucasus next turn very, very easily. I mean, the only option I can think to stop that, or I don't know, make it more difficult, would be to try and take Caucasus, use the air on this artillery with this 1 infantry, and then we can build with the Russians in the Caucasus next turn. And we could obviously move these units all into the Caucasus and hit West Russia, block Russia. What is he hitting with? 6 tanks, 4 infantry, that's 10. Plus these 2, that's going to be 12. So that's 12 land units plus all of his air. 5 fires is 15, 16. 16 versus our 4 we can build, and then 7, 8, 9. That's probably not worth it, right? Yeah, I don't think that works out quite in our favor. He can hit it, and he's going to get a lot of momentum going, and that would cost us every single unit, essentially, Russian unit that we have. I just think he has, unfortunately, he just has too many hits he can absorb with the infantry here, right? He has 6 infantry plus then the 11 heavies, basically. I mean, I think we'd get absolutely rocked. So we will not do that. We will continue with this plan. I think this is it for attacks. Yeah, that's going to do it. So we'll lock in the attacks. We'll roll the dice and see how they go. Are you fucking kidding me? I cannot believe this is happening. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Oh my god. Jesus Christ. And just an atrocious turn with dice. Just atrocious. Hit us everywhere, and we completely failed 7. We missed everything round 1. he hit. We had to take a hit on the destroyer, and then he sneak attacks, hits a 1 with the defending sub. Just brutal. Brutal. Oh, man. I think we have to put all the fighters back on England. I don't think I want to leave one fighter on Iceland. I think he'll hit that. This fighter unfortunately can't participate. We'll go ahead and move this infantry to Canada. I mean, honestly, I think I kind of want to move all of this back. We'll put the fighter on the carrier at least. And we're going to split these. We'll put 1 unit here. We'll put 1 on the transport. Transport will come to 17. Oops, not drop them there. Come to 17, drop in trans. The Australians, we will load these up. Take this guy off New Zealand. We'll send these boats into 41. Regroup the Australians. This fighter will come into Asia, into China, and that will do it. No, it won't, because this sub can hit this transport, so we have to put the transport in 11. That sucks. And that will do it. Now we'll close the UK turn. Put 2 fighters into England, the other 3 units into India, and that will wrap. So man, it's hard to get excited about where this is already going. I mean, this has just been an atrocious first 3 turns, because honestly, one of the worst outcomes you could get with Russia with the standard 12-9. Germany had an incredibly good round, and we just had a brutal round just now. Just a horrific round with the British, but we'll hope that does not continue on through the Japanese and American turns, and we'll see you guys back for the United States round number 1. All right, United States round number 1. Japan last turn bought 2 transports, 1 fighter, 2 infantry. Pretty good buy for them. I like that. They stepped into Buryatia and Yunnan, stepped in there, took no loss. Burma stepped in with 1 infantry, took no units, and 2 infantry and lost 1 in Anhui. Went ahead and dropped 3 fighters, a bomber, and an infantry in Kwangtung. But the big thing to note with the Japan turn is simply they did not do Pearl Harbor, which is great for our prospects with those boats going east. We'd have an option to do a KJF, but I absolutely do not think we can leave Germany unchecked based on the first 3 turns and the great fortune that they were given. We need to get units in Europe by round 3. Everything we do needs to be designed to assist in that overall goal. So for the purchase then, that means we're gonna need to load up on some transports. So we're gonna get an infantry and artillery. We'll buy 3 transports, and we will get a aircraft carrier. Lock in that purchase. I don't think we'll have any combat this turn. We'll not be attacking with any of those units. We will not be hitting Morocco because the sub will be able to come and hit it, and I'm not willing to risk a sub-destroyer showdown. For the sake of 2 transports, we will just wait 1 other turn. So no combat for the US. We will go ahead and send the bomber to Europe. We'll go ahead and move everything into Canada. Or actually, well, there's no reason to do that actually. We'll keep everything in the US. We'll move these boats around. We'll move this over. We'll move this guy from Alaska. Transport is gonna come here, pick up this infantry, come back to 56. Destroyer will come down. Sub, destroyer. These fighters will go to the central US. This one can actually go on land. I don't think we'll want it there. We'll put it on Canada. Aircraft carrier continues its trek. This fighter and this fighter can land on the mobilized carrier. 2 transports, destroyer there. All those are fine there. This cruiser will come up. Yeah, and these surviving subs are just such a nuisance, to be honest. It really sucks. You can't be optimal in the placement of your boats. And we're behind a turn as a result of that. So that's a really big bummer that happened, but we will be okay. So this fighter at the moment, I think, is probably best served in Moscow. We'll send these 2 infantry back. That will be it for all of our US non-combat. Yeah, so nothing really to touch on this turn, to be totally honest. The strategy is simple. It's just we need to get as many units and transports ready to go, so that once we do finally clear the Atlantic, we hopefully have enough to start landings, and hopefully have enough to come to the aid of our Russians, who are under a lot of pressure already. And as a result of that pressure, I don't think we have any purchase to consider other than getting as many units as we possibly can. And we will lock that in. It's really simple. I don't think there was any other option for us. Now we know we're not under a serious threat to lose Moscow this turn. Let's try to take back these territories at least. I think we have to go light into all of them, which really sucks. We could get screwed very easily in these, but I just don't think there's a better option for us. All of our artillery was in Caucasus or West Russia. We didn't buy any, that's why, because we bought 2 tanks. Ugh, so annoying. So annoying that purchase just, we did the worst possible turn 1 purchase, given the results of just the entire round 1. It really sucks that we're behind on that, but it is okay. That is it. That's all we can do. I don't think there's really much more to talk through on this one. We'll just see if we can get lucky with the fighters on the light attacks into Caucasus and West Russia. What is going on? Thank you, Jesus Christ. Thank you. Man, I don't know what's going on with our pilots. We must have some like serious side issues with the pilots in the Russian Air Force. We just couldn't hit anything. We had to wait until all our infantry hit, and we got really, really lucky that the defensive rolls were just as bad. The tank missed, I think, twice, 2 out of 3 times in West Russia. We just were sweating that entire time. We were just absolutely sweating. So all these guys will continue their trek. We got what we wanted out of this turn with the Russians. We'll just have to hope we get enough of these troops and these fighters from the UK into Germany as quickly as we can. Yeah, it'll be very interesting, but we will find out when we return. Oh, let me just close this. We're not ready to return yet. But we will see what the Germans do when we return for the United Kingdom, round number 2. United Kingdom, round number 2. Let's take a look at what Germany did last turn. Bought 7 infantry, artillery, 2 tanks, 1 fighter. It's a very balanced purchase for him. Combat-wise, stepped into Caucasus, really heavy. Destroyed 2 infantry we had there. In Egypt, the UK held on, which is awesome. Looks like he sent a infantry artillery. We were able to hold that off with our 1 infantry, and we still hold the territory, and our unit survived, which is awesome. And he went ahead and stepped into Archangel, and he stepped into West Russia. No units lost in those battles. And the general state of the board here is, this battleship needs to go, and the transport. So we're going to plan to hit that this turn. He has an annoying little sub here in 8, and he's got the 5 fighters in Finland overseeing all of these sea zones, for the UK to build transports, boats, all that stuff. So that's unfortunately going to need to wait 1 more turn until we can completely reinforce with the Americans. But that'll be okay. That will buy us time to get a little crazy in a couple other areas. I'm thinking for our purchase, we're going to stick with getting 3 units for India and then getting 2 fighters. We just need to continue to pump air east and get that into the fray in Europe, specifically in Russia. And we'll continue to just get some units on the board in India. We'll see how long we can hold India. I don't think this, unfortunately, is going to be able to be a priority for the UK, but we'll see. We'll at least get some units and we can retreat with those and use those elsewhere. But that's going to do it for the purchase. So we'll go ahead and lock that in. And like I said, we're going to hit this battleship transport at 16. So carrier, destroyer, this fighter. If I can hit this fighter, oh my god. 1 fighter here, so that's 1, 2. And then I can bring this one. The question just is that overkill? The issue is they have to land on the carrier in 16. 1, 2, 3. And then no friendly territories to land in, so he has to land on the carrier. Now, assuming we take 1 hit, we 1 round the battleship, we take 1 hit on the destroyer, he's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planes that he can hit 16 with. Wait, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 planes, sorry. One of them being a bomber. I mean, I think it's worth it. I can't let him continue to just pull troops from Italy, all the way into, Caucasus, right? That basically makes this a 6 IPC territory for him. All right, I think combat-wise, that is it, unfortunately. All right, I think it's going to do it. We'll lock in that combat. See how the dice go. Alright, combat was not great. We really just had some terrible offensive dice, unfortunately. And actually, I don't think I won them there. In this battle in 16, we just could not hit that damn battleship, so we took out fighter, destroyer. So took a hit on the fighter that had to land on the carrier, so we'll at least save ourselves a fighter. And he'll wipe up the carrier next turn, but maybe we'll get lucky, get a hit back. So here I'm going to take these 2 infantry, drop them into Egypt, and we'll bring these units all back. Bring these guys up. Go ahead and bring this tank in here, which will be fun. Bring a UK tank. You don't get a UK tank into Moscow in round 2 too often. So that's kind of fun. Oh, and oh my god. That's brutal. Oh my god. I forgot to take Burma. And now he can stack it. That sucks. Oh boy, that was a mistake. That was a really big mistake. I totally forgot to attack Burma. Oh my gosh. Oh, that is annoying. That is annoying. These 4 fighters going to Iceland. Put this guy around. He cannot hit us, right? 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm gonna bring the cruiser anyways. Sub will turn around. Just brutal. Brutal mistake to not hit Burma here. Because now he can get his 4, 5. He can put 5 more units in there on the land. And he's got 3 transports. So he can get another 6. That's 11 plus all of his air, and India's fallen. That was a mistake. That was a very big mistake. We'll be able to hold it at least 1 turn. So we'll at least be able to take advantage of the 3 units that we put here. And then we will see you guys back for United States round number 2. See if we can stop making blunders. See y'all then. United States round number 2. Let's take a look at what Japan did. And take a look at the score. So I got quite a hefty lead already, which is not great. We'll see if we can chip into that. Last turn, Japan bought 1 transport, 4 infantry, put an IC in the East Indies, which is not great for the prospects of India. He did move into Burma. However, he did not land any of the fighters. I don't think any of these boats are under threat, so it's kind of silly of him not to do that. To be honest, I don't think we could do anything anyways. With these 6, 9 infantry, we don't have any British air. All of our air is in Iceland, and we got 1 fighter in Russia, so we're just a little behind the ball on getting British air going in the continent. So that's been tough for us this game. Combat-wise, Japan just took all this territory, right? They went north, they stepped into these territories up here, they stepped into China, got a handful of units now in Central Asia, and moved all their boats in and around India and C-Zone 36. Don't think we can hold India next turn, but we'll do the calculus on that with the British. But just off the top of my head, there's no way. So he did put some fighters, Japanese fighters in Caucasus, so he's going to hold Caucasus, and things are going to get real sticky for us. We need to get a fleet. We need to get England dropping 6 to 8 units a turn. That's really our only option. Losing India does make things difficult, because if he grabs Hawaii, the game's over. However, I'm hoping even if he does go with the Hawaii play, we'll have another turn or 2 to have either taken Karelia back or regularly be taking and trading either France or Rome. And it's a nice segue into what we're going to do with the Americans, but that's really the general idea, and we're going to stick with it. So we're going to get 6 more units, 5 infantry, 1 artillery. We'll get 3 transports, drop them all here on the East Coast, and then we're going to start heading into Europe. We're going to start by hitting Morocco this turn, which I will go ahead and line up here once I close my purchase. We'll get all these guys lined up here. We'll get this, so what is that, 3 units. We'll take these 3, we'll bring these 3 down, drop them off in Morocco. Now from Morocco, what does Germany have? They have a sub here in C-Zone 8, and then he has the bomber. Fortunately, he has 2 fighters here in Italy, and a fighter in Germany, but his other fighters, he has 5 fighters, Jesus, all in Finland. I mean, Germany looks like a monster, dude. He has 8 fighters and a bomber. That's scary. He's got a sub still alive. He has the Caucasus already. Seems to be buying a lot of infantry and artillery and sprinkling in fighters and tanks. So that's going to be a problem. But I am getting off track. this is what we're going to do. We're going to take Morocco. These fighters from Italy can't hit 13 if they don't have a place to land. So that's great for us, so they cannot participate. And that will probably be our only attack with the Americans this turn. I mean, we could actually, with the Americans, step into... Yeah, we'll do that. We'll hit these. And then I'm thinking, with the bomber, we might as well just bomb Germany, right? I mean, I hate doing it. I hate to lose the bomber because I think we're going to need it. But we'll do it. We'll go for it. I think it's the right move. If it has nothing to do, we might as well take the 1 in 6 chance to take some IPC. The more I'm thinking about it, he has so many places to build. It's probably not even worth it. Like, he's not even going to repair it, is my point. Like, Germany's not under a threat, literally, so he doesn't need to mobilize there. So we're just risking the bomber for no reason. He can build whatever he needs in Germany, and then he'll build 4 here, 2 in Karelia, and honestly, he could just build in Italy if he really needs to. If we hit with a 3 or whatever, and he wants some units back. So I changed my mind on that and lock in everything else. See how it goes. Alright, combat was good. Took no hits in the battle in China. We'll send that fighter back to Moscow. We will non-com the remaining troops here. So we will take an AA gun, these 3 infantry, and bring them down. Bring them into Morocco. We will bring the destroyer, carrier, 2 fighters, cruiser, all into Sea Zone 13. This fighter can get to England, so we'll go ahead and send him there. This fighter cannot, so we'll send him here. These boats will continue their track. Battleship destroyer into 12. The sub will turn around. Send the sub to 57. Transport's coming. Bring this guy. I think this has a unit on it, right? Yeah, that's fine though. Any other boats on this? Destroyer. These all are covered. This unit will come to Canada. Alright, that's it. That is all of the non-com. We'll get our transports, artillery, and infantry mobilized in 11. And then we'll pivot to the Russians. So Russia round number 3. We're on death's door. We only have 2 fighters. What do we want to do? So let's start with calculating what we have to hold Moscow. He has the stack of 5 infantry, 1 artillery, 6 tanks, and then these 5 fighters in Finland. 1, 2, 3. Can participate as long as he's coming from the Caucasus, which he will be. So we need to factor that in. This bomber can probably participate. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Alright, so as is, Germany has 12% chance to take the territory, taking a ton of hits on his fighters and whatnot. So this is kind of the rough construction of what we will want to have back in Russia at the end of this turn. So purchase-wise, the obvious purchase is the easiest one. And I think this is kind of what we want. We just need to continue to get bodies on and trade these territories, get some IPC around us best we can. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll lock in those 7. Now the easy ones are just going to be 1, 2 units out, and then we do... So now that's what, 5 units out, and we're adding 7. Obviously I don't have to use units from Russia. I have these 4. But the other thought was to try to hit these guys in central China here. It's just so light. The only way I think we could do it is by taking some tanks. I don't think we want to take the tanks out. So let's say we take 1 tank. And then we send 1 fighter. I think I could do that. I think I need the fighter here in West Russia. So let me see if I did this construction as is, what our odds are on this. Alright, that's still under 10, which is pretty good. 8.5%, so we'll do that. And I'll go ahead and I'll send this 1 infantry with it, because I did not include him in the retreat back into Russia here. Yeah, this is not obviously for the IPC, it's for clearing these four units from the board while I can. Alright. That's the logic, that's the idea. It's a little risky, but we'll lock it in and see how we go. Jesus Christ. All right, combat was not great. He had 4 hits, I think, in Sinkang, which is just brutal. Took another hit in West Russia. I mean, we got everything we wanted, so there's no disaster scenario we're trying to come to terms with now, but you just hate to see that. He rolled like 3 1s on defense on the first round, which is just brutal. But that's the way it goes. The dice have just not been our friend so far in this one. But we'll send the fighters back. I don't think there's any issue with leaving Kazakh open. We'll close the Russian turn. Mobilize all our guys into Russia. And then I really pray I didn't miss anything. And if I didn't, well, either way, we'll be back for UK round 3. And we'll hope things look somewhat like they do here. See you guys then. All right, United Kingdom round number 3. So let's take a look at what Germany did last turn. That was a quick peek at the score. We are really struggling in attack power on this one. Germany is just a monster. But let's see what they did last turn. 6 artillery, 8 infantry, which is honestly a good buy for them, and kind of one I was not hoping to see. I think if he continues to produce 14 infantry a turn, putting 6 on the front line, and then having a train of infantry coming from Germany, that's going to make things very hard for us, given the he has 8 fighters and a bomber. He's got only 8 tanks, but still not anything to mess with. Combat wise, took Kazakh, took Persia via some tank blitzes. Free IPC for him, why not? Took Archangel up north, took West Russia, lost infantry in both of those, and then C-Zone 16. Germany 1 destroyed aircraft carrier with no units lost in battle. Okay. Wow, for a second I thought I had an aircraft carrier, like he hit with the sub here or something like that. But yeah, we abandoned that to clear the battleship. General state of the board, stack in Kazakh, obviously untouchable. At the moment he has 8 infantry, 5 artillery, 6 tanks. He has a stack of 6 infantry, 3 artillery, 2 tanks coming right behind in Ukraine. He's got the 4 Japanese fighters and the bomber there. He's got an AA gun. Africa is soon to collapse, which is a nice silver lining in all this. He's got these 6 fighters in Karelia, as I alluded to. And he's got 2 fighters and a bomber in mainland Germany. Moved his sub up to C-Zone 3, just to preserve it, is my assumption, and give him maybe a chance of me getting lazy with some transports in 10. But I don't think we'll make that mistake. At least I hope not. Knock on wood. And that's kind of it for Germany. I mean, Germany's very scary. They're making 50 IPC a turn, and we need to chip into that some way, somehow. For the UK, we have to deal with India. I think that's going to be priority number 1, and then we'll look at getting a fleet as well. So the options with India are limited, and they're all not very good. So there's no way for us to hold it. He has 12 land units in Burma, and he has 4 fighters, a bomber, 1 fighter, 3 fighters. That's 7 fighters and a bomber all in range. That means they're all in range of Persia as well, which sucks. You can see I left even a note for myself here, because moving these 9 guys into Persia, he's just gonna drop these 6 guys, and then he's gonna hit it with all the air and wipe the 9 guy stack. Which the whole point of us retreating would be to try to preserve them and, trade them with the Germans ideally, right? So that is not an ideal option. Now, one idea I had to kind of counter that, or at least take the sting out of it potentially a little more, was to retreat these 9 units and then build 3 infantry in India. However, I don't think that does much to change the calculus. The only thing it would do is, maybe take these 1 or 2 or 3 fighters out of the attack on Persia, and he'd only be able to drop then his 6 units into Persia with the transports he has, and then hit with the 5 aircraft. Obviously, I like our odds there. However, I think 3 infantry here, he could probably get away with just sending 1 fighter, the 8 or 6 units he'll have in Burma that he can't move on the transports. So I think the odds are still very likely he'll take both of them. Is that worth it to try and be a little annoying? Is the 9 IPC investment there worth it to maybe get a chance to take some more infantry, or maybe we get into an aircraft in this if we get lucky in Persia? I mean, we're rolling 9 2s. We could easily get lucky and roll a 5 or a 6. I'm leaning towards that way. I'm not sure if it's the best. The other option is just to stack everything here, but that's stupid. That just leaves them all to die. He sends all 12 units and all 7 aircraft in there, and yeah, that's not a battle we'll ever win. So if we do anything in India, I think that's what I do. There's no option for us to attack, which sucks. We have not done a good job. I mean, it's only round 3, so I guess I can't say that we haven't done a good job. We'll have 4 fighters landing in Moscow this turn, but we have no air in and around the Pacific here. We don't have a lot of fighters on the board with the British, which is going to make this a lot harder, but I don't think there was much we could do. I mean, Germany just had such a head start with how round 1 went. They got a lot of very fortunate dice then, which has led to us in round 3. Germany's already in the Middle East. They already have Caucasus. They have everything. A very, 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 very scary Germany. But I'm thinking with the UK, we can do that 3 infantry, then we'll get a transport, and then we'll get an aircraft carrier. And the thought is with the Americans, we'll stack everything into C Zone 8. We'll mobilize our units here, and then we'll have at least, we'll have 3 transports in range of the UK, but it just sucks that we're still not even able to start consistent landings. These 6 fighters are just total buzzkill on any Norwegian, Scandinavian play, and the sub's just really, really annoying. We can't leave any transports to die, so we need boats everywhere. So having that 1 sub, just 1, is just putting us back maybe 1 or 2 rounds until we can really get going, which might be too much time for Germany. It's just it's not looking good for us right now. But I think this is the play. This is the purchase we'll stick with. I think there's not a better option in India, so we'll go ahead and lock this purchase in. And attacks, we know we're going to take these guys out. So we'll step into Persia with those 9. I think we will go ahead and just swing this shot now. See if we can get lucky. If we have to retreat once, that's fine. But we'll want to give this a shot now while we can. There's nothing we can do. Well, we can blitz Kazakh on behalf of the Russians, and I think that's going to do it. We don't have many other options with the UK at the moment. We'll lock in this combat, and we'll see how the dice go. Alright, combat was good. We ended up taking Libya. I think we lost 3 units, so it wasn't a perfect round for us, but that is okay. We know we need these 4 fighters in Moscow. These 2 fighters are going to land on the carrier here. AA gun will move into Persia. Go ahead and move our sub over here to 36, just to be annoying. Make sure that he can't get too cute. Now here in the North Atlantic, I want to calculate getting this transport into 10. Make sure that we have some boats available to support it. What's nice is in 13, all we need to protect against is the bomber. So we'll have the cruiser there with the 1 transport. My assumption is I'll probably be able to move. Well, we'll have this carrier and this destroyer that can only get to 10. So we know we'll be fine in 10. Yeah, and then I guess our only decision with the Americans then is 12. Do we put them into 13 or do we put them into 8? We'll probably split them. But we'll figure that out on the American turn. I think that's going to do it for non-combat. So we'll go ahead and close that. Mobilize our 3 infantry into India. Mobilize our transport and the carrier on 8. And then that will close the UK turn. So we are hanging by a thread here after our turn. Yeah, we're still almost 40 points of attack power down. We just have not been able to get anything going, honestly, with the UK. I mean, America's kind of right on schedule. So maybe, once we get them landing and we can get a train of, hopefully 6 to 10 units a turn landing somewhere in and around Europe, we'll be able to take advantage of the American firepower finally coming to bear. But is it too little, too late is the question. Will we be able to do anything to help Russia? Because both Japan and Germany are looking very formidable. And so this is not looking good for us, but we will continue. We will continue the fight. We will see you guys back for United States, round number 3. United States, round number 6. Take a look at what Japan did last turn. They purchased 5 infantry, 2 artilleries, 2 transports. So they now have, 6 transports on the board. So I have a feeling Hawaii is going to be under some pressure very, very soon. It's going to continue to get guys onto the mainland. Those are all good plays by him. But combat-wise, for the Japanese, stepped into a Vanki, hit Persia, lost 2 infantry and a fighter. Man, we just had a brutal result, though. We lost 3 artillery, 6 infantry, and AA gun. We only hit 2 infantry? Man, that's a real bummer. And he couldn't have had this air. I mean, 1, 2, 3, maybe. I guess it's not impossible. He probably just had a million fighters. Took India, destroyed 3 infantry, but lost 4 infantry in India. So I guess it kind of came full circle. And then 37 took out the submarine we had there. That's probably a good move by him. These guys either will go into 61 or, swing in with the transport towards Hawaii, or both. China is still ours, which is great, but all in all, a good turn for the Japanese. And it's really making things difficult. It's really, really making things difficult. I'm not sure kind of what our next step's going to be. He's going to begin just shucking troops into Africa, which is going to be brutal for the UK. All the while, Germany's just a total monster. So we're going to then need to commit resources to fight Africa. And it's not looking good for us, unfortunately. So what can we do to try to stem the tide? Well, we determined a lot of our moves already with our UK move in our previous turn. So we'll be landing in Northwest and France with the Americans. We'll be stacking C-Zone 8, and we'll reload in C-Zone 10 with the additional transports so we can get there. That means we'll have 5 transports and 8 that we can build 10 units for. So let's kind of see what that looks like. Let's say we go 7 and 3. Now we can obviously do 10 and then get another fighter, but is that dumb? Do we want a little bit of artillery, a little bit of kick? Oh, we actually have a transport here as well with a single infantry, so we can actually bring that down. Well, no, because we have an extra transport, so I actually need oh, but there is a unit in Canada that I believe is unaccounted for, and we have some AA guns, so I don't think we need to get too cute with that. Man, it sucks it worked out this way because we have to defend against these 6 fighters, and the only way to do that is to take both these territories. But we still could, so I guess my thought was potentially swinging into the Med and trying to take these 2 territories as well, and then he's going to have 13 units, spread across these 4 territories. I mean, he'll be fine. He'll be able to take that all back, but it is annoying. It definitely is that. The question is, and the answer I believe is anything we send to 15 is going to die, because he has 4, 5 aircraft in range with the Japanese, and he'll have the 3 German aircraft in range of 15, and the most we could get there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably not a good time for us to be sacking transports. That's probably not the right move. So we'll spare the aircraft purchase, and I think doing something kind of like this was my thought. And maybe we go ahead and add a tank into this, or we can just bank the 7 IPC, which honestly I think we'll do that. We'll save the IPC. This transport's filled with the unit in Canada. These 3 transports are filled with these 6 guys here. These 5 are going to come to 8, and then they'll be in 10 the next turn. We have 2 fighters already in these in Canada and the UK that will land on this carrier and this destroyer, which will protect all of the transports in 10. Then we can look at putting another destroyer or battleship in there as well, and that'll do it. So we'll lock that in. We'll bank the 7 IPC for a bomber or something next turn. And I don't think we're going to take this territory. We'll do that with the British. So unfortunately, the Germans will have another IPC next turn, which is kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. So that's 3, and then we need 3 infantry. And then we'll send 3 of those boats here. And then actually I want to be specific about this. We'll send this 1. Okay, stop that. I want this one there. And then the other 2 will drop in France. And then we will have another... Oh, actually... that's annoying. The anti-aircraft gun can't participate in a fight, so we can't actually get the AA gun into the battle. So do we then just leave? I don't think we can leave the transport here, so we'll actually have to non-com. Oh, we can non-com them. Yeah, we'll be fine, actually. We can drop them after the battle. And do we want to be annoying and try and take some Japanese territory here in Asia? I guess we could send these 2 infantry into Anhui. They're kind of safe there, but he has 3 infantry he could hit that with. I mean, we could reinforce with the Russians and get a nice little stack of 4 units going there. So to be annoying, in the spirit of being annoying, I almost want to do that. All right, we'll send the Americans in. Send them to Anway. See what he's going to do with 3 infantry against those 2. And we'll retreat the Russians. We got the one guy into Kazakh and then swing the other ones back into the tank into Russia. These guys will be non-commed. All this is non-comm. Then the last question is the bomber. Do we just go ahead and bomb Germany? He has so much IPC, man. He has so much IPC. I guess we have to. See if we get lucky. All right, that'll do it. We'll lock that in and roll the dice. Yeah, man, just not our game. Not our game. We lost the bomber on the raid. He rolled a 1. That's really unfortunate, but that's just how this game has gone. We've just been behind the ball on the dice from round 1. So these guys will go ahead and drop into France. All this is good. You know, the sub, I think we're going to send here. Yeah, we'll send that into 60. Now all these boats, we got destroyer, cruiser, carrier. Then you know we're gonna send these 2 with this destroyer and this aircraft carrier into 10. I think we have enough boats because he only has the 3 aircraft that can hit this sea zone and the sub. So he's got 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So why don't we send another destroyer there, and then we'll send the battleship to 10. These 2, this transport will come here. We'll drop the guy off just to be safe. I don't think there's any way for this sub to get there. Yep, we're good on that. These units will move up. These 3 transports will move up. All right, that's gonna do it. We'll close our turn there with the Americans. We will mobilize our 10 guys into the eastern US, and then we will close our turn. Nice 57 IPC. See if we can do something fun with that next turn. Now the Russians just need to buy as many guys as they can. Spend all their IPC. 3 infantry, 2 artillery. We're already on death's door with the Russians. Now we need to calculate what we have to hold Russia with and what our options are in attacks. All right, so as is, he has, with everything he can hit with from Caucasus, the 2 tanks from Ukraine, and the 6 fighters, and this is not counting in these units here, he has a 61% chance to survive. Meaning he'd take a bunch of hits on his fighters and he'd have a unit remaining to take the territory and take Russia. Now, let's move this 1 tank back, and then we built 5 units, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That gets us down to 6%. Now let's add in these infantry. 1, 2, it's 21% with these 3 infantry. Oh boy. So I need to try and take those out somehow. And the only way would be to spend 3 infantry to try and hit those infantry in those territories. And if I do that, we're at 25%, which is not great, but is not obviously terrible. And I don't really think there's much for us to do. I mean, I think that's our only option, unfortunately. Because if we just hole up and then he can use the 3 infantry, I mean, the only issue with it is if we don't take the infantry out, right? But I think we have to do it. I don't think we can just sit here and wait for that to happen. We'll use the very little artillery we have to increase the odds that we just don't get totally screwed. Probably should have moved these infantry with the Americans back. That probably would have been helpful. Now Kazakh's going to be pretty easy to take, and I don't think we'll have options to take it back. But we'll go ahead and lock this in, and we'll see how it goes. Wow. All right, well, we caught a break. Combat was great. We took no hitbacks, and we took both territories, so that is awesome. Send this guy into Novo. At least don't let him blitz that. Or not Novo, Kazakh. And that's it. Unfortunately, we're not in a position where we can get these fighters into Russia, and we probably need to try and prioritize that. We probably need to send some fighters to Iceland. I probably should have done that, honestly. We had like a fighter here, and at the end of the day, we didn't need it on Sea Zone 10. So we're not doing enough with the allies to get fighters into Russia. We'll close our Russian combat. We'll put the 5 units into Moscow, and then we'll pray that if Germany does take a swing, 75% odds hold. But we will see you guys back for UK round number 4. All right, new day, new me, and same depressing war against Commander Chris. So let's hop into what Germany did as we pick things up here in UK round number 4. Germany bought 5 artilleries, 10 infantry. So a good, nice, thick, girthy purchase for them. Combat-wise, stepped into West Russia, took back Northwest Europe, took back France, and looks like we were able to do a little bit of damage. Lost an infantry, lost 3 infantry. We lost, 6, 7, and an AA gun there. So we did not hit on any of the air, which is a bummer. So if we look at the stack, all 8 of these fighters now reside in Germany. He's got 1 bomber here. He tucked his sub up here in C Zone 4, so we just need to always make sure we're calculating that. And any attacks on a fleet in 7 or 3. Has his stack in the Caucasus, 16 infantry, 9 artillery, 8 tanks, 2 units in West Russia. And then we've officially kind of stopped the flow, right? The leak, I should say. We stopped the leak, it seems, with Russia. And then what I'm pointing out is a lack of big stacks of troops already working to move east. Now, obviously, the 4 IPC, or the 4 units he can build in Caucasus every turn, doesn't require him to have as much going east. And obviously he shouldn't have too much at this point, given what we're threatening to drop with the Americans and the UK now going forward. It's like the first positive thing I think we've had to say about the state of the board after a German turn since the start of the game. So it's a very small silver lining. We are not out of the woods yet, though. As is, I think Germany has a 60% chance to take the territory, to take Moscow with everything in the Caucasus, and that's not including the 8 fighters. So next turn, he can rotate these around, drop another 4 guys, and then that math changes drastically. With what we can build for Russia next turn, I think we can get ourselves up to like an 85% chance to hold. He might take that shot, and he could very well hit it. And if he does, we need to be prepared to fight back. But that is a big if. So what are we going to do with the UK? Now, I believe our best plan is to go north here. One is these 8 fighters in Germany. If we were in C-Zone 3, dropping people in Scandinavia, they can't participate in an attack on our fleet. So it'd just be bomber sub, and we could definitely defend that. So it's the path of least resistance is my thought on point number 1. Point number 2, it would be very nice to get 5, 10, 15 units in Northern Europe, trading with the Germans, hitting West Russia, getting into Moscow. So part of this is to also get fighters on my carriers in position to fly to Moscow next turn. So that's the idea. That's what I'm going with. That means we are going to take 2 units from England. We're going to take 2 from Canada. My thought is to keep these 2 infantry in Africa because I think we're going to need them. I think he's going to swing a transport of units, at least 1, maybe into Italian East Africa, drop his tank here with an infantry, and then just let these guys run loose. I wouldn't be shocked if he did that. So I think we need to be prepared that he's going to come try and hit Egypt. Just having those guys there will probably provide some good flexibility. And we can't drop anyone anywhere with this transport this turn, as it will go to 7, as that's then out of range of the fighters, and we'll have to leave a few boats to protect against the bomber in that case, because the sub will be blocked by a number of destroyers and many other boats. And then the question is do we get another transport? So we could do this. We could do transport, infantry, fighter, and then fill that transport with the AA gun. I don't think we'll need the AA gun in the UK, so let's just get it in, use that last slot, get us an extra transport, and buy an extra fighter. Because like I said, we're gonna still need them for fleet defense, or want the option to have those fighters on defense, but we need to start sending everything we can to Moscow. So replacing what we have on the carriers will be very important to meet both those goals. And I think this is good. We'll mobilize into 7. As I said, we'll drop a boat or 2 there to protect against the bomber. So we'll lock this in. I like it. In combat, we'll go ahead. We will take Norway And I think we'll take both of them. I think it's probably better that this IPC go to the Brits because we're probably going to lose some in Africa here. Maybe Australia in the future. So we'll land both our units. So yeah, we'll use artillery. Actually, I'm not worried about that. I was gonna say maybe I should have just calculated to only drop one unit, but he only has one infantry. It's not like he can hit what we put in Finland. And bring tank infantry and the other infantry next turn. We have no actual battles to fight there. These two units will step into Libya or Algeria. These guys will non-com. We'll figure out if we want to stack these guys in Egypt. My assumption's yes. Everything else will be non-combat. That's gonna do it for our combat. So we'll go ahead and lock that attack on Norway, Finland, and Algeria. Lock those all in, and we'll let the dice fly. Oh, no, we won't. Oh boy. All right, it's early. Okay, it's early. It's before 7 a.m. here. So we'll non-com these guys into Egypt. I just want to make this difficult. There's maybe a case to step back so that he can't hit us with the fighters. But allows him to drop 6 units in there. I don't know. And I'm not sure. I think you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Anti-aircraft carrier. Very pro-aircraft carrier. And yeah, we'll send the fighters there. This cruiser and this transport will go here. And then we'll probably need to drop an American boat or two in there. But that's gonna do it for the non-combat, believe it or not. All right. That is it. Not much going on right now with the UK. Kind of the calm before the storm kind of phase, or at least that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Hoping that we're about to unleash the British storm in Northern Europe, but we will see. We'll see you guys back for United States, round number 4. Here we go, United States, round number 4. Take a look at what Japan did last term. They bought 5 infantry, 2 artilleries, a transport, and a bomber. Combat-wise, they took South Africa, so they are full in on just trying to be annoying as they possibly can. That is a bummer, because they are just going to be pretty free to roam and just grab IPC like crazy. So we will have to fight for Africa, which sucks. Takes away from us having a serious shot of putting some serious pressure on Germany in the near term. Maybe we can make it work on long term. They also stepped into Szechuan. They hit Egypt, it looks like, but they retreated with a fighter, lost infantry, 2 artilleries, defenders lost 2 infantry, so at least we're able to hold Egypt. But he seems committed to taking people from Borneo, or the East Indies, I mean, and India, and is probably going to try and take Africa. Archangel, Soviet Union held on, attackers lost an infantry, and then retreated, it looks, or no, retreated with a fighter, okay. Guess they came from the Caucasus. So we were able to hold on there, which is great. Kazakh destroyed infantry, lost a tank, did not take the territory. And then Anhui, 2 infantry, no units lost. I think we had some Americans there, so we took those guys out. All right, well, overall, I mean, a pretty good defensive turn. I don't think it does much. I mean, obviously it's great, it's better. It's better than it could be, right? We could have lost Egypt, we could have lost Archangel, we could have lost Kazakh, so I can't sit here and say that that wasn't, a good thing. That took, 5 IPC out of the pocket of the Empire of Japan, which, geez, is at 44. Yeah, this is going to be tough. I'm not entirely sure what the best approach is here. I mean, one option would be to just turn around and just say, you know what, Japan, I'm coming for you. However, I think that gives Germany enough time to regroup and get a threat back on Moscow. Maybe we consider that next turn. I think for this turn with the Americans, we'll stick with the status quo. So we'll look at reloading our transports and we'll buy a few more. So 6 infantry, 3 artillery, a tank, 2 transports. We'll need to start sending some of these to Africa, and having a few more is only going to help us in that effort to do that. So we'll lock that in. We'll keep this 7 IPC for next turn. We might need to keep that in our back pocket. Drop a banger in the Pacific. We'll see. We'll see. For attacks, I don't think we have any either. which just kind of gives you a glimpse into how this game is going for us. We just don't have anywhere we can even really put pressure on at the moment. We just don't have enough units on the board in the right areas to do anything. We're just kind of biding our time and just waiting for Japan to honestly kill us. So we don't have any attacks with the Americans. The sub cannot hit anything. Fighters can't hit anything. We don't have an American bomber. So yeah, we'll close the combat, unfortunately, for the Americans. All right, for the non-combat, we know we are going to take as much as we can up into Finland. So we'll drop those guys there. We'll move these. We'll actually not move them yet, but we will take infantry and artillery. We'll bring them down to French West Africa. I don't believe this is at a threat of being hit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think that's okay. We will move the rest of these guys north into Canada. We'll send these 5 transports back. All these boats will move up into Sea Zone 3. And my thought is from here, assuming that Germany doesn't take its chance with Moscow next turn, but even if it does and we somehow survive, I shouldn't say somehow, we'd have the odds too, but we could lose. We will be able to fly some fighters off these carriers. We probably don't need all of them. And I don't think having them in Archangel makes sense because they're not really doing much there. So we'll keep them in Sea Zone 3 just to be safe. And then the sub will swing down into 49. I want to be able to hit 37, so this is kind of the sneakiest. But he can hit it, and honestly, if I were him, I probably would. It's probably worth sending the destroyer and a fighter and the sub to go do that. It'd actually be silly if he didn't do that. So I expect him to, but whatever. I don't really care about the sub. It's nice to have. It's can be annoying, but it's honestly it's very little you can do, and it takes just a really big mistake from your opponent to really reap the rewards of having a sub in the Pacific. That's gonna do it for the Americans. So we will close the American turn. Mobilize our 2 transports, tank, artillery, infantry. We might send both of those transports to Africa next turn, to be honest. We will see. The Russians now have a pretty simple buy. 4 infantry, 1 artillery. We'll lock that in. I think we will go ahead and use the artillery that survived in Archangel to hit West Russia, and then we can send 1 infantry and 2 fighters at that. And the question is just what are our odds? I'm actually curious. So I'm going to run that quickly. Assuming we send those 2 units out and we don't get them back, what are the odds we have to hold Russia? Oh boy. All right, well, it's not great odds. And either way, depending on either what we do, whether we hit West Russia or we don't, we have about a 30% chance to survive, roughly. Or I'm sorry, I misspoke. Sorry. Regardless of what we do, we have about a 30% chance to lose Moscow. So Germany has a 30% chance to take it. That doesn't include these 8 fighters. So honestly, if he put those in position, next turn somewhere in Poland, that might be enough. But we'd be able to get a lot of fighters into Russia then. And we actually have a decent amount of territory here. We can get another 4 infantry or something. Oof, I don't know. Our days look numbered. Our days look very numbered. Obviously, what attacking West Russia does do is open us up to potentially more risk. If it goes poorly, then he can have an extra unit or 2, right, that he could hit with, and we could lose 2 units. So is that 2 IPC criticals? This is 8, 10, 12, 13, 14. That would get us another unit to take West Russia. So I think we're going to do it. That extra unit could be huge. All right, so we'll roll the dice. You got to take some risks, baby. Got to take some risks. We'll see how it goes. All right, we took the territory. We did lose a unit, but we avoided the worst case scenario. So we'll get everyone back into Moscow. We will go ahead and mobilize our units. We got 5 additional units here. And now things are going to get spicy. Our German friend has a important question to ask himself, which is, am I going to shoot my shot, 30% shot on Moscow? To be frank, I don't think he will, just because the overall state of the game leans Axis. He has a strong advantage in attack power. He has a strong advantage in position. He already has India. I don't know why he's not just grabbing Hawaii, because that would essentially end the game if I can't take Karelia or, hold France or something. That would just put additional pressure on for us to do something, right? But positionally, Japan's, set up to be a monster. It's only a matter of time before he has 10, 15, 20 units on Russia's doorstep. He's already trying to mess with Africa and mess with the UK money. I mean, if he wants to do that, he should, in my opinion, and he probably will actually do it with these infantry, he should have put like an artillery in here or two and just started swinging these guys into Australia from the East Indies. And then he could take New Zealand, and then he can head to Hawaii, which is what I would do. But there are a lot of options with Japan. I don't think any of those are really bad options, to be honest. It's like multiple paths to victory. Probably not a wrong decision that you can make there. So things don't look good, but we'll see if we have an intact Moscow and how things look for us after Germany's next turn in UK round number 5. United Kingdom round number 5, and the light is at the end of the tunnel. And by light, I mean the great white pearly gates, especially for the Russians, as Moscow does not look like it has much time left. The odds have grown, unfortunately not in their favor, that the Germans will have a very good chance to take Moscow next turn. We'll run through all the math when we go through purchases and combat. We'll quickly recap exactly what the Germans did. They bought 3 artilleries, a bomber, and 7 infantry. Combat-wise, they captured Kazakh through a blitz, took Archangel, West Russia, and C-Zone 7 ended in a draw. Germany lost a bomber, defenders lost a cruiser. So he took his swing at just the cruiser that we had protecting these 2 transports. That's a good idea for him. I would have done the same thing, and I somehow maybe messed that up. We don't need this many boats as the Americans, was my thought, though I don't remember exactly where all the fighters were, but that seems like overkill based on everything we have up there. We could have dropped a destroyer down here, right? So I messed that up. We got lucky, I think, to be honest. I mean, I think it's probably like 50-50, but we got lucky. We'll see if we can make them pay by preserving those 2 transports, which is a nice segue into our purchase. And I don't think, unfortunately, we have any option other than to reload these transports off of the UK, and then maybe we can consider getting some air. I think buying a fighter every turn, honestly, with the UK is probably a good move, and we can work to try and shuck those to Moscow. So what would that look like? 1 fighter, and then, I mean, that's 7. It would be all infantry that we'd be dropping. That's probably fine. I mean, I don't see that being an issue. If we can get the infantry in a position to coordinate with the 7 fighters, British fighters we'll eventually have in Moscow, I think that would be a manageable army composition. Not ideal, of course, but manageable. So we'll lock that in because I really don't think we have any other choice. We need to be able to get units on the board, and we need to get fighters to Russia. So that is going to be our purchase. We'll go ahead and step into Karelia, bring the tanks with them, get everything we can into Karelia that we possibly can. I think with the Americans, we'll look at taking France and Northwest with 2 transports. We'll probably send the other 3 up north. If he's going to let us trade France and Northwest, I think we could do it. We won't need a ton of defense here, as the bomber will be the only air unit in range of C-Zone 8. He has 5 fighters in Poland, and then the other 3 in Caucasus. Similarly, these fighters really aren't in any position to threaten any fleet in either C-Zone, actually. Obviously, this 5 fighters, it assumes you take both. Don't make this mistake. Northwest Europe is bordering C-Zone 8. So if you only take France, he could potentially hit that and then land in Northwest. So you do have to take both. Yeah, I don't think any other attacks for the British is in the cards, unfortunately. Well, actually not. We can. I guess we have tanks for all of them, but we can go ahead and blitz Kazakh for them, for the Russians. So a quick update on the general math as is. Everything in the Caucasus, not even including these 3 extra units in West Russia and Archangel, it's 99% chance that Germany will take that because he has everything in the Caucasus plus these 5 fighters in Poland and the bomber. So he's trying to sneak these away, maybe thinking I wouldn't see them or include them in a calculation, a defense calculation. It's kind of a sneaky move. I don't know if he did that on purpose, but it's kind of something I would do, the game within the game. The game within the game. Point being, Moscow's at a 100% chance to fall, and if we do everything, if we fly all of our fighters, that's these 2 British fighters, the 4 American fighters, I think that's all the fighters that we can land, so that's plus 6 fighters. We build 5 units with the Russians next turn. and then you add in, like, we can't even expend units to take these territories surrounding Russia. You add in these 3 infantry, and I think it's 53% chance for the Germans to take, and that's assuming they take hits on their aircraft. I think to take the territory, it's like 30%, but to survive, meaning you would take all your hits and you'd have nothing but aircraft, was like 53. It's about a 50-50. And if he is going to shoot that shot, if he's going to look at the board here and say, it's not getting any better, these are probably the best odds that I'm going to have to take Moscow, but he might deduce that this is the best it's going to get from an odds standpoint. Do I agree with that? Long term, I'm assuming Japan will get enough going to be able to stack 10, 20 units on Moscow's doorstep. There's no reason why. I mean, we're not even doing anything with Japan. So if he deduces the long play is a better option, he might wait or he might shoot a shot. Either way, I'll let him shoot a 50-50. Because if he shoots and misses, we are back, baby. We are so back if he misses. So that's the general idea. Very long-winded explanation of the general ideas. It's actually probably better to describe that as specific ideas, I would say. Either way, I don't think we have any other attacks with the British. So that is going to do it for combat for the UK. So we'll go ahead and close that out. Non-combat. We will move this unit up into Finland. 2 fighters come to Moscow. This fighter cannot reach, unfortunately. So I do think I'm going to want the aircraft carrier. Well, this fighter can now go to Finland. Is that a good spot for it? Or is it better to land it on the carrier? Probably, because he's not going to hit Finland. So I think this is what we're going to want to try and organize here. And again, I think C-Zone 3, other than the bomber, is pretty well protected. So as long as we put, I don't know, 1 or 2 destroyers there, we should be fine. And the thought is the fighters on the carrier from 7 can immediately mobilize and then fly directly to Russia. So that's why I want to mobilize and have a carrier in 7 and don't want it in 3. Transports, let's go ahead and load these bad boys up. We'll go ahead and send them into Finland. We'll take another 2 transports. Actually, let's send them down here. I guess we will take the AA gun with us. Can't hurt. Yeah, I mean, our fleet's going to be spread really thin, but I think we have enough boats. I'm just double checking because if we're going to send boats to C-Zone 8, I guess we wouldn't need any additional American boats in 7. If he's going to send a bomb, yeah, that's stupid for me to think that. That should be fine. Yeah, we'll be fine. I'm stressing myself out. Africa, we'll go ahead and just swing a lot of these units forward. We'll send these guys down, I suppose. And that's it for the UK in round number 5. So we'll close our non-combat, mobilize our fighter and the 7 infantry into England. Take a quick look at the score. Starting to bleed cash with the UK, which is never a good thing. And we have a 50-point attack power disadvantage. Good news is we took a victory city in Karelia last turn, but oh boy. I mean, we're putting up the absolute best fight we possibly can. Is it enough? I don't know. Time will tell. I think we'll at least get through another turn. We'll see what Japan does when we recap their turn with US round number 5. United States round number 5. Let's take a look at what Japan did last turn. They bought 4 artillery, 6 infantry, and a fighter. That sucks that he is just stacking infantry and artillery. He is just planning to overwhelm everything that we're doing in Asia and the Middle East. And it is not looking good for us, friends. It is not looking good for us. The quick peek at wow. We're down 70 attack power now. We have just not been able to climb back into this since round 1. It's very unfortunate, but we are not going to give up just yet. Combat-wise for Japan, they bombed Russia. Fuck. That might be the beginning of the end for the Russians at least. Took Kazakh, took Sinkang, took Vologda, took Rhodesia, took Egypt, Anglo-Egyptian Sudan, failed to take it, which is nice. And then C-Zone 49 destroyed a sub. Okay. Well, yeah, that's it. That's why this looks so gosh darn orange. Everything is just orange, orange, orange everywhere. Africa's orange. About the worst possible map colors for the Allies. So for the US, honestly, I don't know what else to do at this point other than continue to just try to push units into Europe and Africa, and eventually maybe we can fight. Like, I can't remember the last time we had like an attack actually, and this round is actually not going to be any different. We've just been on the defensive this entire game. So we'll buy 7 infantry, 4 artilleries, and then I'm going to get a fighter, just because we're going to start trying to send fighters to Russia. I don't think it'll matter in the long run, but we can at least buy ourselves a couple turns. The land units, we have 11 of them. 2 will go to this transport here, and then 9 of them will go to these transports, and we have an AA gun that can complete the 10 spots that we have on those transports when they return to the coast. We'll lock that purchase in. So attacks, I'm going to send these 4 units into the coast here. We'll take France and we'll take Northwest. We'll have to look at sending some boats down there. Those will be non-com. The other 6 will be a non-com into Finland. And that is it for the Americans. So we'll close our combat there. So non-combat, we're going to move these units up into Karelia. We're going to move these units into Finland. We're going to move these fighters into Russia. We're going to move 1 carrier into 7. We're going to send a destroyer and a cruiser, and actually another destroyer into 8. Maybe we don't need 2 destroyers. Let's just send the 1 destroyer and the cruiser. And then we'll leave the extra destroyer up here just because we have 7 transports up here. It's more important to preserve those than these 2. I think that's a safe play, safer play. These units in Africa will move up. This transport will return to the East Coast. Now, how many units do we need to send to Africa? Honestly, I think we should, oh gosh, I hate when I do this. Let's cancel this for now. I think we should send both of these transports into Africa. We'll send the tank with them. Tank will be helpful. Now you can come back. And then you 6 units will meet the 3 transports returning from 3. And I think that is it. We have the fighters in Moscow. We've aligned our boats. The carrier into 7 is so that this fighter only has an additional turn. 1 turn, I should say, to get into Moscow. If we didn't have that, I don't think we would be able to. We'd have to like fly them to Canada and then to Iceland, I believe, and then over there. So it gets them over there a turn sooner. So we can at least maybe get that pipeline of fighters going. Africa's been addressed. Yeah, I think that is everything here. So we'll close our non-combat with the Americans. We'll mobilize everything into the eastern US. And then we will see if there's even anything we can do with the Russians. I have a feeling, well, we have 16 IPC, which is nice. So how many units can we build here? 3. Oh, and then it's saying I have more because I actually own Karelia. But that's probably not smart to do that. So we can get 1 more there. Really, that's it. And then we can just upgrade our units if there's any possible way to upgrade. I mean, the way to do it, I guess, would be 3 infantry tank. I guess there's no reason not to do that, because getting artillery doesn't matter much. We get an extra roll advantage with the tank. I'll go ahead and do that. I think that's a fair purchase. And then I don't think there is any territory for us to take, unfortunately. And we just need to cross our fingers and hope that we can hold out for another turn. I'm curious. I'll quickly just run the math on this, see what the Germans have odds-wise. Before I do all that, I'm just going to skim through these turns here. We'll get to the mobilization, so this count is a little easier for me to do. Close that. All right, beautiful 11 IPC. All right, so now let's take a look at the odds. All right, and according to my calculations, he has a 61% chance to survive, meaning he would need to take quite a few hits on his 8 fighters and his 1 bomber to give him those odds. Now, to take it and conquer the territory in a typical or in a more standard fashion, looks like it's about 36%. So we'll be curious. I will be very curious to see if this is a shot he decides to take. The reality is I don't really think he needs to, because Japan, but it's only a matter of time. Yeah, now he's going to be having, I mean, we need to get ideally like a bomber in Africa, because this sucks. He's just taking 4 units from the East Indies, 3. So he's dropping 7 units a turn now into Persia. So it's going to be 2 turns till he has, 1 turn actually. He has these 6 units here. So he's still shuttling guys from Japan through Yunnan. So my point is he could take that 60% chance now with Germany. I don't think that's actually the right move. The right move is probably to wait 1 or 2 more rounds where Japan has 15, 20 units here, and then do your 50% chance with Germany, and then you'll have a 100% chance with Japan on the following turn if you don't get it. So you could probably do that and set that up for round 7. So I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't take that swing now. If he does, it would be great for us, to be honest. We'll see. That's a lot of all over the place what if, but ultimately at the end of the day, I think if he plays this right, there's not a way we can hold Moscow. It's just too little too late with the Allies this turn. We were just behind from a really bad round 1, if I remember correctly. And from the get-go, we were struggling. So that's tough to come back from. But we'll see if we can. And it'll start with UK round number 6. And Moscow is still standing. Welcome back for the UK round number 6. The Germans in the last turn did not decide to take a shot at Moscow and instead have done a couple interesting things. So we'll hop right into the recap of what the Germans did last turn. They started with buying 8 infantry, 5 artilleries. So honestly, they're just beefing up. They are settling in for the long game is what it looks like. Combat-wise, they hit Karelia, took that back and have a tank remaining. They took France back. They took Northwestern Europe back. Didn't take any hits in either of those. But Karelia, we had a pretty good defensive showing, honestly. So I think I was looking at this. He moved 5 infantry, 7 fighters, a bomber, and a tank. And I think, obviously we took out, 5 infantry in that? I don't think he took any hits on any air. That would have been a little crazy for him to do that. Destroyed 6 infantry, a tank, and 2 artillery. So we had 7, 8, 9, and we got 5. Honestly, that's pretty good. So we rolled 9 dice, got 5 hits. I'm pretty happy with that. When he has 7, 8 aircraft, what was it? Yeah, 8 aircraft fighting in support of that, along with the tank, and he's just got the tank remaining. I'm pretty happy about that. So with the state of the board, it looks like he's moved everything out of the Caucasus and moved that stack into West Russia. It seems like he is going to be content trading Karelia, assuming we are going to push hard on this northern pass. At the moment, I don't see a reason to divert from that strategy for the next turn. I think putting pressure on this stack to trade with the British and Americans is probably a good thing for the near term. Is it sustainable long term? I do not think so, because Japan is going to become a monster, and we need to then figure out what to do with Japan. So it seems like, resisted the German onslaught, right? We were able to preserve Moscow from the German onslaught. Mission accomplished. Now, can we transition from that survival mode into some sort of attack? I don't know. We have an incredible attack disadvantage. We're almost 100 attack power down. That's a problem. And Japan is going to become like the main character of this game. If I were Japan, I would strongly consider getting like another IC in Manchuria to start. Maybe even another one in Kwangtung. They have no shortage of money. They should go get Australia. They already hit in Africa. Get New Zealand, because that's just free IPC that the British are sitting on. That's an infantry every turn. And we're already feeling the squeeze as the British. Obviously, Africa is an issue, but we're going to fight back in Africa. We can fight for African money, IPC, in those territories. We can fight for Australia, at least as of now. So that's what I would do if I were him. I'd also go and get Hawaii. I just think Japan has many, many paths they can go. A lot of them lead to Rome. We'll see how that plays out. For the British, however, we are going to stick with what I already alluded to, which is trying to put pressure on Karelia in this northern pass. So we'll go ahead and get 6 infantry, 2 artilleries. We'll look at flying those 2 fighters. I flirted with the idea of getting a fighter this turn, but that would only allow us to buy 6 infantry. I'm going to put 8 on the board because we already have quite a bit of fighters. So we'll have plenty on that. We need to get more units on the board so these fighters can start making their presence felt. If we can get a stack of 20 British units and then have that hit like a stack of like 10 or 15 units if he gets a little sloppy, and then we could bring 10 fighters to that, that'd be real, real nice. So we'll stick with that idea for this round, and then let's kind of talk through our options on attacks. I don't think we have many, to be just totally transparent. I think our only options are one, why not? Because we can just do that. We'll take Archangel, and we might as well just send everything into Karelia. And these fighters can all participate in that. So we'll go ahead and use them on that tank. Fortunately, we have no air support in Libya. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can at least maybe we can send 2 fighters to Libya, send these 2 around. Is that the craziest thing I've ever done in my life? What could Japan hit us with? 2 infantry, 2 fighters. I don't quite see a good reason to not try it, but wait, 1, 2. Well, actually there is, because these 4 fighters and this bomber can all hit Libya as well. So I don't think we can actually get those fighters to Africa. I'm sorry, I just wasted like 10 minutes talking about this. Not even calculating these 4 fighters can hit Libya and then land in Egypt. And there's no way for us to take Egypt this turn to prevent that. So that is obviously a no-go. I'm wondering then if we need to consider just retreating these units, and the short answer is probably yes. I just hate to give up ground, but they're just gonna get wiped. What's the value in that, right? All right, all that to say, we will not do any other combat other than hitting Karelia, and we'll blitz Archangel. We'll make them at least move this Japanese unit, and then we can maybe blitz Vologda with the Russians. We'll go ahead and lock that in. All right, took no hit on the tank, which is just lovely. You love to see it. We'll send these 2 fighters to Russia. I think they're a little better positioned to support the units I'm hoping to get flowing, into this corridor here. We will send these transports down, reload all these, drop them back into Finland through Sea Zone 3. Now from here, the bomber is the only thing that can hit 7. I just want to make sure we're not in any position where we are stressed about this bomber coming. Now we're not going to have, we'll have 1 American fighter there, and then we'll probably just drop a destroyer in there. We'll send these 2 units back to Algeria. The Australians there are just prepping for a landing. So we'll let them there to die on the western coast of Australia. If that is their fate, then so be it. I think that's it for the UK. So pretty straightforward turns at this point in the game. For the UK, we really only have 1 area of operation. We'll load our 2 artilleries and our 6 infantry into England, and then we will close our turn there. So pretty quick turn outside of my long-winded ramblings of the state of Africa and the state of the United Kingdom and our colonies there. We will go ahead and see you guys back for the United States, round number 6. United States, round number 6. So let's take a look at what Japan did. Japan looks like a total complete monster. 10 infantry, 3 artilleries, and a fighter. That is not a good purchase you ever want to see Japan making at any point. But I mean, let's just zoom out. I mean, this over half the map is orange. So this is just a monster Japan. And this is part of the issue of going like full in on Germany, is you do give Japan the option to do this. They just have free reign of the entire Pacific. But I don't think I had much of a choice early in this game. I mean, Russia was just, it needed every single fighter in every unit that we could get into Europe. We'll see if it's too little too late though, because Japan looked very, very scary. Combat-wise, bombed Russia, and then just really encircled it. Novo, Archangel, stepped into some territories here in East Africa, grabbed Madagascar, Libya, moved into Transjordan. They now have the Suez, so they have the option to swing that fleet into 17, which would not be fun for us. However, he may just continue to leave it down here and say, hey, I got a good thing going. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. For the US, I unfortunately don't think there's much for us to do. We'll simply stick with reloading the transports, at least 1 more turn of this. And then with our next British turn, we'll make some decisions on what we want to do. So we'll get 10 units, we'll buy another transport, because I am thinking I'm going to sack a transport to grab South Africa, and he has some bombers in range that can hit that. But it'll kind of move some units down south and at least take back some IPC for the British, who will be able to incur that benefit on their next turn. So we'll plan to do that. We'll continue to drop another 2 units in Africa, and then we'll see if we can put up somewhat of a fight. I really wanted to try and consider getting a fighter. I could have done that by buying 10 infantry as opposed to 3 artilleries with the 7 infantry, but I I just think the artillery is somewhat required. We just can't have stacks of infantry with nothing to do, right? With no support or any ability, you know, to attack and push. So we'll do that next turn. We'll bank the 7 IPC and we'll look at buying a fighter next turn. So that's going to be our purchase for this round. Combat, like I said, I'm thinking we'll just take the 2 infantry, to be honest, right? There's no need to send the tank or the artillery down there. We'll send that on the 1 transport, drop them in South Africa. These other guys will be all non-com. Attacks up here are all non-combat. The fighters, don't think there's any reason to risk them on anything. We're not landing on the coast here. I mean, we could. However, no, we can't because he has the 8 fighters, which is why we moved. Decided we're going to go north. That is all of our opportunities of combat. So we'll just have the 1 attack into South Africa. Everything else will be non-combat. So we'll go ahead and get that sorted. I'm thinking, what's the best spot for these units? It's probably here, right? If he wants to run those guys north, that's fine. Move the tank into position there. The reason I'm not wanting to step into this territory is, 1, why defend a territory that's not worth anything? There's no IPC value for that, but he can also land via 34. So he can take units from India or from the East Indies and then land them right on us with a whole bunch of, you know, fighters, bombers, all that type of stuff. So we'll probably have to give up the coast, you know, maybe trade Rhodesia or something like that. But I find it very hard for us to ever take Egypt or Italian East Africa. I don't think we'll have a chance to ever get those back and hold them because he'll just overwhelm us immediately. We'll go ahead and move this transport. We'll take these 2 guys. And I'm thinking if we can put them into 13, that'd be ideal. And from 13, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for these bombers. So they can't hit, but it's then the German bomber. We can move the cruiser destroyer down, and then we can push back at least on these 2 infantry, is my thought. Because we don't quite need people in Central Africa at this point. So that makes a lot of sense to me. So we'll send them here, drop them into Morocco, send these guys back. We will have another transport already here. This fighter is going to fly to the carrier. As I mentioned, this destroyer and this cruiser could come to 13. We can drop 1 destroyer into 7. We need to keep 1 in 3 because he has a sneaky sub in 4. So we don't want to give him a free shot. Even if we did, however, we could take the hit on the battleship and then we'd wipe it. But I think this is just fine. What I'm actually just thinking, is this a little too thin? He has bomber sub versus carrier battleship destroyer. This has fighter 2 carriers versus bomber. Yeah, I think that's probably a little too thin. We can leave the destroyer there. These units will hop on the transport, come up to Finland. Our Finland units will move into Karelia. These 2 transports come back to 10. These transports here come to 10. So we've got all the transports moved around to make sure we get these units moved up. All right, I think that is it for the US. So we'll close the non-combat. Go ahead and drop transport, 3 artillery, 7 infantry into Eastern US. Close our turn there. Then we'll pivot to the Russians, who I assume don't have much to do in regards to options. We have -6. We can build 4 units. Well, that's great because that's all we can afford, right? 1, 2, 3. All right, so we got 3 units. We got to quickly calculate and see if we have any options now. Here, the immediate ones. Let's grab that. Bring them back. I think that's the only one we can blitz, which is a bummer. Honestly, though, I would love to try and hit one of these. Or this one. Well, Archangel we don't need to worry about. Assuming we have some units here, they can hit Archangel. It would be nice to then, you know, maybe take one of these. So maybe let's see if we can spare 2 infantry. I'm assuming we can. Let's see. All right, yeah, as I predicted, we definitely have the flexibility to do this. It's like under 1% chance for him to take the territory. And I can actually probably even take this down to 15. Yeah, so even if I just don't even build any units, we'd have basically 100% chance to take this. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and take this back because the IPC will be nice. And we're gonna need it to repair going forward. So the question is do I wanna try and take Archangel? Because that's the IPC I get now. So we would do that, and then, all right, I like this. So we'll send infantry, artillery into Archangel, see if we can get the IPC this turn. We'll blitz Vologda, 2 infantry and 1 fighter. 2 infantry, 1 fighter, and a Kazakh. That's about all we can do to fight back at this point. There is the option to maybe hit Caucasus. I'm wondering if that might be a good idea. The only issue with that is we would need all the artillery to probably support that and the fighters. But it does not allow Germany to build there next turn. So that in and of itself might be enough value. The question is just giving that to Japan, because they will take it back. Or I guess the Germans could. So one of them can take it back, right? Is there any reason to not want to give Japan the opportunity to be the country that takes that back? All right, so let's quickly think this out, because Caucasus would be better. That means we can't hit Archangel, though, is the quick math I'm doing. So let's say we sent 2 artilleries, 2 infantry. Let's say 3. They do have an AA gun there, which is a DAG. Is that worth the risk? Probably just send a tank if we were gonna do that, right? Just sack the tank. So if we sent a tank, that gets us up to 6. That's very light. That's very, very risky. You know, if we were to do that, I think we would, just to be safe, not hit Novo and maybe send 1 additional infantry into Caucasus, send the extra fighter into Kazakh, and then our defense to hold will be 9%. So I like that. So we've completely changed our thought here. We are not going to hit Novo or Archangel. We'll let the British, if they get the opportunity, hit Archangel. We'll instead take the 4 IPC in Caucasus, which is probably a no-brainer, and the option for the Germans to build their next turn, which would be great for us to get a little pressure off our back. And we'll see how it goes. We'll lock it in. We'll let the dice fly. All right, fighters go back to Russia. I mean, combat was great. We now have a stack of, what is that, 5, 6 units in the Caucasus. Those are all very likely to die, is my assumption. But we'll see. It does take a little pressure off of Germany possibly hitting Karelia. I think he could probably do both with this stack in West Russia. But what's the right move? I don't know. I'd have to sit down and think about it. So it poses a question to our opponent. Let's see what answer he decides to go with. That is going to close our turn with the Russians. Let me just double check. Yeah, all fighters are here. Yep, AA guns are there. Beautiful. We'll put the 3 units in Russia. And then we will see... Oh, no. Oh, my God. I totally fudged that up. How did I not... Oh, -6. Why did I think I could build 3 there? That's so dumb. Well, I don't think that will kill us. It'll be fine. You know, he'll have, what, 15% chance now? So... Yikes. It's giving him a better chance than 8, which it was before. Crazy that that 1 infantry raises it, basically doubles the odds he could take it. But let's hope that doesn't kill us. We will see if we have a standing Russia when we return for the UK, round number 7. United Kingdom, round number 7. Let's take a look at what Germany did last turn. They bought 10 infantries, 3 artilleries, pretty consistent at this point, which is, honestly, it's not the wrong move. It's probably the right move. They went ahead and took Caucasus with 3 units, and then they stacked Karelia with everything. So in that battle, they lost 7 infantry, and they destroyed 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 units. Seems like an okay trade for us. I mean, we were rolling mostly 2s, right? So that seems like a pretty good outcome. And I'm assuming he used quite a bit of fighters in that attack. 5 fighters, so that makes sense. Pretty good outcome for us, all in all. I am not too upset with that. The obvious things to take away with the German turn are obviously he stacked Karelia. So he now has, what, 18, 25 units in Karelia. He's got a stack of an AA gun and 8 units to reinforce Karelia next turn. He has 1 unit in West Russia and only 3 in the Caucasus. So I'm wondering if, I mean, I guess there's 2 things I think the German player's thinking. One is, I'm going to try and make a stand in Karelia, and then maybe he tries and hits Hawaii. I mean, that would be kind of his success, right, is if he can grab Hawaii and then hold Karelia, the game's over, because I don't have any way to get India or any of these other Asian victory cities. So that seems like a no-brainer to me that he maybe would try to organize something like that. It would require him to stack and maintain France and Italy. He's left those exposed this turn. We'll talk through potential options to try and trade those. But a big one is Caucasus, and if I can get and hold the Caucasus with the Russians, that would be huge. The question just is can I do it? We certainly have enough to grab it and hold it. That is for sure, right? Be grabbing it with the Russians and then stacking because really all we have is the fighters, our biggest defense, right? So before the Japanese go, we could put another 9 fighters, maybe a tank there. Assuming we block and take West Russia with the Russians, we could stack Caucasus. At which point they would have, this is where we'd have to actually do the math, but it just on the surface doesn't look like it would work. He could have, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 units on the doorstep in either Kazakh and Persia, and probably both. So we'll have to figure out what's going on there. That's a Russian thing. For the British, I've been kind of mulling over what to do here. It's really between kind of 2 ideas. One is to just fully reload these 4 transports and then just non-com everything into Finland, non-com all 5 and 10 of these units into Finland as the Americans, and then just try and stack Finland and just try and outstack him in Karelia. Hopefully eventually we'd get a shot to hit a huge stack in Karelia. That's option number 1. Option number 2 was to try and do something a little lighter in regards to the transport buys. 6 infantry and then a fighter. So that would leave 1 transport open. And the reason we'd get a fighter is not just because they're simply valuable and useful, but we can go into 8 and we would need to drop a fighter on this aircraft carrier. And we don't even need to necessarily go into 8 with the British. 2 units for each of those in here, or we can plan to take it with the Americans if we want. I think the British are hurting for money a little more, so I think I'd want to do it with them. But he has 5 fighters and a bomber in Germany, meaning we'd have to protect those transports in C-Zone 8. I don't think we definitely don't want to sack British transports. And my worry is going too light in C-Zone 3, and like defense-wise, so if I pull like 2 destroyers, right, or destroyer aircraft carrier into 8, leave battleship destroyer in 3, and then if we move like all 5 of our transports, we have 2 British ones, and then he just gets lucky. We actually fly a fighter back. I think we can, right? 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, we can fly fighters actually from Russia. So that actually changes probably all the calculus. So I think we'll do that then. And if he wants to spend all of his air to hit 2 transports, again, I know they're British transports, but it's only 2 against the majority of our fleet here, I will let him do that. And if he gets lucky and wipes it, we're going to take at least 4 or 5 of those, right? Maybe all of it, and we just trade it all, which would be amazing. So I think that actually, I'm talking myself into this. So we're going to go 6 units. We're going to take northwestern France with the British. We'll drop the other 4 units into Finland. Probably drop all 10 of those units into Finland with the Americans. Yeah, I like it. So let's lock that in. 5 infantry, artillery, a fighter. Bang. Now combat, the only combat I was really seriously considering, I think, was hitting West Russia here with everything we have. And then we obviously want to take France. So let's send 2 of these transports here. We'll take the infantry. And actually, because we're only buying 6, yeah, wow, this actually worked out amazing. I didn't even mean it to. We're only going to take 1 infantry of each. So then we have a full load of transports next turn. Because these guys are going to die, right? There's no point to send 2 infantry into these. They're going to easily get wiped. I can use the extra infantry on each of those transports that I was going to use on each of those transport and put them into, well, let's do 1 at a time here, into the transports next turn, assuming they go somewhere functional. And then you're going to grab that. So that's beautiful. That's a free 8 IPC at the cost of, what, 6 IPC for those? I think it's a no-brainer. Turn some units around, to make some sense, something, into those territories. Lovely. We'll lock that in. France, northwestern, West Russia. All right, let's go. Nice. Ah, damn. All right, well, combat was not great. I mean, I guess it is what it is, right? He hit us back in West Russia, which is fine. We knew that was a risk. He had a 1 in 3 chance to do that. So that's a bummer, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We'll send our aircraft carrier into 8. These 2 will come and pick up 2 artilleries, 2 infantry. Bring them back into 3 and then into Finland. Fighters back into Russia because I don't think there's anywhere else for them to go. I mean, the other option would be to send them to Finland. 1, 2, and they can still reinforce Caucasus. Just want to make sure that's not stupid. He has 18, 25 units he could hit us with. We have what in there now? 7, 15, 16, 17, plus 10 we can drop is 27. It's all infantry though. If I do that, it's critical that we take West Russia and Archangel then. Japan cannot hit us seriously next turn. We would have more than enough to defend against 8 aircraft and 1 infantry. He has no tanks or anything he can blitz through with. So why don't we just send like 6 there? We'll send 3 back to Russia. That at least definitely ensures this stack survives. We'll have them covered on units plus 6 fighters. Then we were going to send 2 fighters of the Americans to Sea Zone 3. We'll leave these 2 infantry in Africa. He can send these 2 bombers with him, which I think he honestly will do probably. But I think we should try and take the advantage roll there. See if we can get lucky. He rolls some blanks and then we get a shot on a couple of those. Maybe we get real lucky. All right, that's going to do it for the UK. We'll close our turn there. And we'll go ahead and mobilize our fighter and then our artillery and 5 infantry into England. And then we will plan to see you all back for the US round number 7. United States round number 7. Let's see what Japan was up to last turn. Bought 7 infantries, 1 artillery, 5 tanks. Man, that is a scary level of purchase power for the Empire of Japan. Combat-wise, kind of surrounded Russia, took Vologda, took out a transport we had in Africa, landed that bomber in Madagascar. Kazakh 2 infantry, lost an infantry, and then hit Algeria, our 2 British infantry, and lost both of them. Retreated with the bomber to Egypt. So that was a very unlikely outcome. You would think the bomber would have gotten at least 1. I wonder if we, rolled snake eyes after he blanked the first round. That's probably the most likely scenario that would happen, right? And we look like we've at least, stopped the bleeding in Africa. So we'll at least we do have a tank here. We'll be able to blitz and capture back Rhodesia at least and ask him what he's doing with this 1 unit. But we've at least, stemmed the bleeding, right? The British are not out of it yet. If I were him, I would stop this whole Australia-New Zealand thing. I think he's kind of lost sight of these islands. That 3 IPC is critical for the British right now. Allowing us to trade France, Northwest obviously is a +2. I don't think that will last long. He's probably building enough units to stack both while leaving a force in Germany, which is what he's constantly calculating every game with Germany is, can I hold these territories on the east, or on the west, I should say? What do I send east, and how much do I need to defend Germany? Because we have, really at any given point, somewhere between, 4 to 9 transports in range of Germany. That's something you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful about. That's kind of what we're waiting for in this game, to be honest. I don't see really a path for us. Wow, yeah, it's over 100 now. The 5 tanks and 8 infantry is just gonna kill us. So Japan's gonna eventually be able to just roll through the map. We're kind of waiting for a big mistake. That's really all I could do, is just kind of continue to put the pressure on so that he can't get sloppy. And if he makes a mistake, we need to make sure we're in a position to hit it. And we'll continue to take territory and try to make gains where we can, but I don't see a path for us to push back on Japan unless we get to a point where we maybe want to forego a purchase with the US and then say, hey, look, we're gonna drop an 80 IPC fleet in the West and just ask you what you're doing, what Japan's doing, and then come after Japan. Because if we can maybe get Japan to turn around, maybe it's not too little too late. However, he's gonna have how much IPC is he at? 55, yeah. I'm wondering if that's really the only path for us at this point. But my only thought is we're not going to be able to outproduce Japan with the Americans, which is typically what you want to do, right? Which is the advantage to going KJF, is that any boats we trade, America's at an advantage to replace them very easily. So we wouldn't have that advantage. We might consider it. I think for now, let's just continue with this current play. See if we can put Germany in a tough position to make some decisions and they make a mistake. We'll buy 7 infantry, 3 artilleries, and then we'll get another fighter. We'll bank the 3 IPC for next turn. We will have an empty transport, I believe, on the following turn. But we kind of have more transports than we have IPC to deal with, and I think getting fighters is still pretty essential for us to defend Moscow. Combat, we'll go ahead and blitz into this territory here, into Rhodesia. I don't think I'm going to swing into the Med with these 2 units. I don't think I'm going to bring them up here. We'll just kind of move them through North Africa. Additionally, I don't think we have any options to do any attacks in Europe. Karelia is obviously safe, so this will be a non-com stack. Then we'll send the fighters to Sea Zone 3. Yeah, I don't think there's anything for us to do here, unfortunately. Now, the only other thought I had was to send the destroyer at this sub and bring these 5 fighters, because this thing's kind of annoying. So that's gonna do it for American attacks, and it's just the theme of this game. We just don't have a lot of attacks. There's just too big of stacks for us to consider hitting, at least as far as I'm aware. Maybe I'm missing something, and obviously, you know, you guys tell me if there's something you would have done differently. We've obviously been a little behind in this one since round 1. I think we've done a pretty good job fighting back, but it's unfortunately we're just not in a position where we can actually make any gains. We're just trying to like kind of consistently kind of reach parity, and we're always behind, a step behind. So we'll see how that goes. I think that's going to do it for US attacks, though. We'll go ahead and let the dice roll. Alright, so 2 fighters go to the carrier. 3 fighters go back to Moscow. We were going to send battleship, fighter, carrier, destroyers, cruisers into Sea Zone 8. These units in North Africa will swing into, what is this, Algeria. I'm going to send 1 more round of units into West Africa. So we'll just send 2 units down here. We'll bring these guys into 1. We'll bring these guys into 1. So now we got a nice little American stack in Africa. We'll go ahead and move these units in Canada up to Finland. We'll bring the AA gun with us. Whoa. All right. Ignore the prism into another dimension being displayed on our screens. Then these 8 units will move up to Canada. We will bring 1 of these transports here, and then these 4 here. We'll have an extra transport in Sea Zone 11. We'll leave them there in case I want to pull units next turn directly from the States into Africa or something. You know, if Japan drops like a stack of 6 units down here, we're gonna need some reinforcements. So we'll leave them there to pick up some units that we purchase this turn if required. I think that's gonna do it for the US. All right, we'll go ahead and close the American turn. We'll put the fighter and 10 units into Eastern US. And we'll see what options we have with the Russians, if any. Russia is down to two slots here. So let's just at least start with that. And then we'll have 1, 2, 3 probably. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. 5 infantry. All right, look at that. 5 infantry for the Russians. That is amazing. We are saved. 5 infantry are coming from Moscow. We are totally saved. All right, the easy things. We're gonna blitz these territories. This guy's gonna blitz this one. You're gonna return. This guy's gonna return. And then the obvious ones I need to hit are West Russia and Caucasus. Yeah, he's really just biding his time with Japan, which is probably a good move. But he's kind of positioned his units like all a turn away to stack Kazakh or Caucasus, maybe with the Persian stack. But he had like 7 or 8 units here. He moved them north into Sinkang so that he could get these 4 to drop with these 8. And then he has these 11. So he's going to have 22 units in Kazakh potentially next turn, though I assume he'll split that stack, to be honest. I assume he'll put 7 here and then, put 11 here and 12 here. Because I don't think he wants us to have the Caucasus. And I think he, too, is... Wow. I mean, this is a pretty big brain play if he did do this. I think he's kind of calculating he'd rather have the Caucasus with Japan. So he's kind of giving it up, knowing that Japan's the only one that's going to take it back. Wow. That is a big brain play if he is doing that. Do I care? Should I try and stop that? Like, would I prefer Germany to have the Caucasus and I just don't hit it? I mean, Japan is the more scary opponent, right? Yeah, I mean, Germany's going to need to build against these units, so I actually don't think I want to hit Caucasus and give that factory to Japan. Because Japan is now the one that's going to try and hit Russia, And as much as I would love that 4 IPC, I don't think giving Japan this factory, I mean, I know it's not a big deal, right, India, but this is still 2 turns away till you're on their doorstep, right? We can't have him mobilizing and then hitting Russia next turn if it can be avoided. Doesn't mean he can't now just stack Kazakh and then build a factory there, but at least it's half the units he could build. So, I mean, we got to try something, right? We can't just sit around and just wait to wait for him to take Russia. So, I think we'll at least do that. We will still hit. Well, if I use artillery, I could probably take some of these. So if I use, well, let's use artillery here because I do think it's important to block those tanks. And then which one's probably more important? Maybe this one. Important being just maybe the artillery has a chance to survive in that one. And then we can send 2 units there and then an additional unit here. And then we're building 5. So we're sending 6 out plus 5. We'll send 1 fighter with the 2 infantry. And then we'll send 1 fighter into West Russia. And then hope that this infantry artillery combo is enough in Vologda. All right. That's going to do it. Let's let the dice fly. Come on, boys. Oh, man, we got some brutal pilots. Do not hit me. Do not hit me. Thank God. Bro, come on. What is going on with these dice? Yeah, oh, fucking Christ, dude. Dude, Jesus Christ, what is going on? Wow, that's one I did not really want. Alright, man. Well, yeah, the dice were not good. That's for sure. We could not hit anything. We are just rolling blanks left and right. We did take Kazakh, did not take Vologda, barely took West Russia. But it is what it is. Close our turn here. Put 5 infantry into Moscow. And we will see what the Germans do on their next turn when we return for UK, round number 8. Here we go. United Kingdom, round number 8. And I say here we go, but it really should be here we don't go, because I am struggling to see a path forward here in Europe, which really was our only chance, I think, to have a serious threat and a serious opportunity to win this game would be to somehow crack Germany. And I'm not really seeing how that's going to work. So let's recap what the Germans did. They bought 10 infantry, 3 artilleries. It's just they have too much IPC, too much production capacity, and too many units on the board, and we just don't. We just don't have that. Combat-wise, they took France back, took Northwestern Europe back, hit Kazakh, took that, West Russia as well, but they lost. Destroyed artillery, lost infantry artillery. So that's nice. We were able to hold West Russia. But you can see kind of the layout they're going. They're baiting me to take the Caucasus. I think him and I are on the same wavelength there, at least. I think he wants Japan to recapture the Caucasus. So he's kept a unit there. Point is I don't think we actually want to do that. We don't want to recapture and let Japan take that, but I think he wants us to. So we'll have to figure out what we do there with the Russians. He's stacked Karelia, and then he has stack in Germany, and he's got 8 units a turn heading to Karelia, and then he's going to it looks like he's going to continue to trade these territories on the Western front until he has enough units where he can stack both Germany and France, right? The issue, and I've been staring at this for like, I don't know, 20 minutes trying to think of like just any ideas on what we could possibly do to change the game or the course of the game potentially. Because I think we just got to kind of take a Hail Mary at this point, right? We're not in a position where we can kind of play the long game here. So if we look at our production, they're producing 93 IPC a turn. You know, we'll get some of that back, right, this turn, but we are at, what is that, 65, 70. So we'll take some territory back through the course of our next turns. The reality is the production is equal, and there's no way for us to really make grounds on that with the current layout of the board. The only way we could really, I think in theory, make any ground on this is to start taking territory from Japan. If we could somehow get pressure coming from, honestly, the US, coming through the Pacific, maybe we can grab some of the islands, you know, start landings maybe up in the north. That would probably be easier than trying to crack Germany, because Germany just has essentially created a bottleneck in 2 areas. He created a bottleneck on the Western front. He's created a bottleneck in Karelia. So we don't have a path in. We can't get in. And I kind of like how he's played this. It's really just blocked all the paths into supporting Russia with the Americans and the British, and then leave it up to Japan to basically crack Russia. And they can. They absolutely can. I don't see why they couldn't. On the other end, we eventually probably would crack Karelia. But is it too little too late? When could we crack it before they crack Moscow? I don't know. I don't know. That's just such a slow approach. It would take us at least till... So if we're like right now, I think it's a like 15% chance we could take it if we 1-2'd, right? So if we sacked all 10 planes and the 17 British units, and then we sacked all... We'd have to be willing to sack everything. And then what do we get out of that? Oh, we got Karelia. Great. There's 8 units coming from Baltic. There's 30, 40 units in Germany. We didn't do anything. It's not like that battle wins us the game. It just gives us... a consolation prize in taking the territory, and we lose all of our British air, and then Japan takes Moscow, right? It would take all of our air, and then Moscow falls. So my only thought then is, like, big picture, we're going to pull one aircraft carrier out of the Pacific, and then we're going to, out of the Atlantic, and send it to the Pacific. Maybe we'll take a destroyer as well, but we're going to start sending it west, so we can send it to 12, to 19, so in 3 turns, we can have it in 56. At that point, I'll look to drop additional fleet with that. Maybe we'll grab a transport, probably at least one, and we'll have to just come at Japan because this just isn't working. It's not sustainable. We have to try something. So that's kind of the grand strategy of what we're going to do. For this turn, I think we're going to buy a destroyer. Then we're going to get 5 infantry, 2 artilleries, reload the transports, and then we will look to hit France and Northwest with the British. I just don't see any other options. And this IPC is pretty critical now for the British. I kind of am forced to try and trade France with the British when I can. And the way he set up his Air Force, he's got 4 units, 4 fighters now in Sea Zone 3, and is threatening to hit that, right? With the bomber, that'd be 5. So we can't really split like this. We need to kind of pick and choose which path we're going to go. For this round, let's head south into France and Northwest, and then we'll figure out what our defense of Finland would be, if any. We might just encourage him to try and hit that to see if we can kind of trade down some of these units as well. So we'll figure that out in the non-combat. We'll lock in the purchase in the meantime. We'll go ahead and coordinate our landings here. We want the artillery and an infantry. So let me actually just make sure I have the right one. Artillery, infantry into France. Yeah, I guess both of these here. We'll just drop into France. Then we will bring both these boats down. Oh, this is going to get confusing. Oh, God. What is going on, guys? Okay, here we go. One of these will go here, and then one will go there. Send 1 fighter there. Well, it's making me actually think, what do we want these fighters to do? Are we going to put 10 fighters? I don't think we need the fighters in Russia this turn, so we can stack Finland and ask him what he's going to do there. We'll have to run the numbers on that. If he sends all his fighters and bombers to hit Finland, could we withstand this onslaught? I am not entirely sure. So if we send every fighter we have on the board, which would be all the British fighters, all the American fighters, I guess we have the option to send the Russian fighters as well, though I doubt we would do that because they're way out of position to help with trying to capture some territory around Russia, which we desperately will need. We could hold Finland. However, it's safe to assume that would be a 1-turn survival. It would buy the troops in Finland another turn, as all of the Japanese troops will then be in position next turn to hit and crush Moscow. So we would need to then fly all those fighters back to Russia. But it does buy that stack another turn, and then maybe we, reinforce that stack next turn. It's also safe to assume we won't need this. The question just is do we want to preserve the stack? I don't think there's any reason not to. Meanwhile, we will go ahead and take this territory here. And I don't think there's any reason not to stack and preserve. I just want to make sure I'm not making a mistake with any of these units. Yeah, there's no tanks, no Japanese tanks. So this guy is very, very much a student of the infantry artillery school of thought. But the no Japanese tanks means there's no way for them to hit Russia with their turn. Germany cannot hit Russia in their following turn. So we would be safe. Well, we wouldn't be safe if we move the Americans, though, however. Oh, boy. Because the Japanese would move, then we'd move the fighters, and then Japan would hit before the American fighters could come back. Ah, God damn it. Oh, this is so complicated. Question is do we need those fighters? I guess, I mean, we can't guess though. We need to know. We need to know. Okay, well, I tried to quickly and very roughly calculate what Japan would have to hit Russia in round 9. Basically taking all of his air on the board. These units in Persia, Szechuan, Sinkang, and then Evenki and Vologda. And he would have, without the American fighters, but every British fighter, and then all the Russians, and let's say we build 5 more units, 20% chance to take the territory and sack all of his air. You probably wouldn't do that, so I think it's safe to defend Finland for 1 turn, and then obviously, like I alluded to, he's going to send these 8 units there, I'd assume, regardless of our landings, and then Finland's probably to die next turn, the turn after that. But either way, I'm spending way too much time on this. I have too many other things to do, so I have to just make a decision and go on. I think it's damned if I do, damned if I don't. We'll try to hold Finland. We'll lock in, as a result of that, that means we can send this fighter here. We'll send these fighters at northwest, and that's gonna do it. All right, so let's lock this in. I'm actually thinking we need all the fighters in Finland. Can this one even get there? Yeah, it can. We send the 3 fighters, so that's 10 fighters. All the American boats are fine. Yeah, everything will be in here, so we don't need to calculate that. These units are all good here. The Australians are good.
The Australians are very good, mate. Oh yeah, we're doing real right down here in Australia.
That's got to be probably the worst Australian accent. That's going to do it. All right, we'll close our non-combat. We will drop the destroyer in C-Zone 8, 2 artilleries, 5 infantry into England. Oops. 5 infantry into England. We'll close our turn here, and we will see you guys for United States, round number 8. Welcome back for US round number 8, and there isn't much to say, to be honest. This one is slipping away from us. It has been for many several rounds now. We'll take a look at what Japan did. They went ahead and bought 3 tanks, bomber, artilleries, infantry, fighter. Basically got a couple of everything. This guy's got so much friggin' money. He's just buying a little bit of everything. What didn't he buy? Fighter? No, he did. Bomber? He bought literally one of everything. Infantry, artillery, tank. I guess he did not buy an AA gun, which makes sense. He bought a fighter, bomber. Did not buy any C units. But he bought one of everything. That is a flex. Japan is a monster, and while we will hop into what we're going to do here with the US and Russia, we have another turn, but I think that's about it. I think Moscow will fall shortly after that. But let's hop into kind of some strategies and what we think we want to do. But honestly, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I've for a couple rounds now, I would say maybe since at least round 7, maybe last turn, I was just like in this paralysis of I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should do this or that. I don't think this matters. I don't think this, like, there was never a path of like, okay, maybe if we do this, there's a chance. Which sucks. It sucks to feel so helpless. So with the Americans here, I don't know what to do other than kind of stick with the relative plan that's been put in place, because to switch course now doesn't do anything. But we'll try a little bit of something, I guess. But we're gonna stick with, like, purchase-wise, reloading the transports and seeing maybe if we have some extra cash for a fighter or bomber or something, and we'll start there. So at the moment, we don't need to worry about Africa, which is great. We've officially kind of cleared that, which is very nice. At least from him doing landings. And that's the smart move by him. Like, our opponent is honestly doing, I think, everything perfectly. I don't think he's really made any mistakes and really given us any room to expose those mistakes. And if you think he did and I misplayed something or mispurchased something in the past, please do comment. Let me know. I would love to hear from you, because I think he's been playing a pretty flawless game. He's had an advantage from round 1, and he has not let that go. He's solely focused on one thing, which is get Russia out of the game, and I think he's gonna be successful in doing that. So he's not getting sidetracked with Africa. He's pulled his units out of Africa, or at least stopped dropping units in Africa, and said, I am putting them in Persia. I am pushing them into Kazakh and Caucasus. We are hitting Russia in round 9. Try and stop me. And I don't think we can. I don't. We just can't. We can't keep up with the production of Japan. They're too big. And this is where you really do wish. Oh, and he's hitting Australia. This son of a bitch. How dare you? How dare you bring the Australians into this? They were doing nothing. They didn't do anything to you. That's just poor class by our opponent to go and mess with the Australians. I have just been on my soapbox here. Woe is me. Let's hop into like some ideas with a purchase. We're gonna reload these transports. Let's start with that. Well, looking at the transports here, we only have 10 units in the eastern US, which means these 5 units coming back, these 5 transports, we'll pick up these 10. We'll have 4 taking these 8. So these 2 transports don't have anyone on them, which is a dag. So that gives us the option to do a couple things. One is fill them, which is what we have here. The other option is to remove filling one of those. And then let's actually do this. Let's say we do 8 and 10. We can get a fighter, and then we can plan to use one of these transports with the carrier that we will look to send west. And if by some miracle there is a game to be played in round 10 or 11, we'll at least have, I'm going to send 1 aircraft carrier and 1 transport west, maybe a destroyer, west to land with a fleet that we may be dropping like round 11. That means the extra IPC here can go towards a fighter. We might as well do it. We'll lock in our purchase there. And that's the general idea with kind of what we're going to do with the units we have and our purchase. We'll go ahead and hit Algeria, or Libya, I should say. I think everything else is going to be a non-combat. We're going to fly all the fighters we have to Finland. Oh, we do have a unit down here. We'll go ahead and send artillery, let's say 2 infantry, and we'll leave 1 here. We had 2 in return, or in reinforcements, following up behind. I'll do it. We'll go ahead and close that combat and roll the dice. Jesus Christ. How many rounds has this been? What in the hell is going on? Is the game fucking bugged? Dude, this is insane. Oh my god, thank you. Jesus Christ. What was that? I'm gonna pause the count. Man, I don't know what the hell people are smoking down in Rhodesia, but that was the craziest roll I've ever seen for both offense and defense. I don't know, that was pretty crazy. Let's get back on track here. This is turn taking way too long. We're never really coming out. We will move these units. We'll go ahead and send 1 carrier. So at least let's do this for now. We'll send that transport with it. These are going to non-com into France. Fighter. Oh, come on, give me a fighter. All the fighters are going to Finland. I will just double triple check. I don't need these fighters, and we'll give me 5 units there. So we'll send the aircraft carrier down here. Destroyer down here. These 5 transports come home. These 2 come up. This fighter will land on a new carrier. All these guys are good here. I guess I could have took out Egypt with the tank, huh? And just wait a little bit not to die. We'll just send these 3 units up. No, we'll leave them there for now. Because I think you might hit Rhodesia. I don't know. I doubt it. I think we're focused on getting Moscow to the wish. Oh, this destroyer can come back from season 4. So that is 7. Whatever, we could potentially drop there, but I don't know what else to do, so we might as well try it. Everything else here is covered. We'll go ahead and close the non-combat. We'll mobilize our units into the eastern US, and then we will divert our attention to the Russians. Looks like the Russians have 5 IPC remaining on their factory in Moscow, and we have only, what, 4 spaces we can build? So that works nicely. Now we can take some of these back. The question just is which one. One thought is, though, to take Archangel and block West Russia. So I think we need to try and take Archangel, so that's 3, and then, or 2 I should say, and then 3 to block West Russia, meaning, you know what we could do? Send 2 infantries there, and then 1 to Vologda, just to try and get some IPC. And then fighter into each of those, and then we'll build 4 to replace those 4 units, and that will give us an 81% chance to survive from Japan. Does not include him just sacking everything with Germany. I wonder if he'll calculate and consider that. My assumption's no. Which is why we'll block. So we'll go ahead and try this. It's probably risky, to be honest, but I don't think it matters in the grand scheme of things. But it's not to mean I'm trying to be sloppy. I do think it would be nice to get this block, Germany and get this IPC. Alright, well, combat was amazing. We didn't lose anyone, so I cannot complain about that. Send 1 unit to block West Russia, so Germany is safe from the tanks. We'll close the Russian turn there. We'll mobilize everything we have into Moscow. And then we will see y'all back for UK round number 9. United Kingdom round number 9. Bright and early on this beautiful and sunny morning. Let's see what the Germans are up to. They went ahead and bought 9 infantry, 4 artilleries, pretty expected. West Russia, wow, another draw. So we retain West Russia for another turn. Dude, just take it. Come on. Northwestern Europe destroyed infantry, lost 2 infantry. Oof, and then, I don't know. It looks like we had probably a decent outcome here. All of his heirs in Germany, so I assume he sent all that. Destroyed our 14 units, lost 6. So that's probably a pretty decent outcome for us. 14 units rolling all 2s. We got 6 hits. That's probably pretty solid, is my guess. Now he does have the 5 artilleries and the 1 infantry now in France. So we have to figure out, do we now go north again? Do we try and hit France again? It's just so annoying. There's just really no way through here. This game is just very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. State of the board has now, what, 2 units in Caucasus. Moved his additional units from Baltic into Karelia. So he now has 23, 13, and 7. All of his heirs in range of Karelia, which sucks. So he has a very girthy stack. That's 36, 30, or 43, 51, 52 units he can bang into Finland. I'm assuming we have nothing close to enough to try and contest that. That is an insane amount of power. So that tells me that we really only have one option. That's probably just trying to hit France and Northwest again and continue to trade here. He's got 20 units, 5 fighters, and a bomber in Germany. We are not in position to try and hit that. We would need to be pulling like 10 units from the Americans, from Finland, to come around and sneak in and hit Germany to give us that sort of 1-2 a possible chance. Man, we probably would have had a chance, to be frank, but no, he'd have more units there than this, so he knows this guy's good. He's not just he wouldn't have left me that if I had, 5 transports in Season 3. He would have had another probably 10 infantry in here. So here's the dilemma. Moscow needs every fighter. It needs every British fighter that we have to survive this round. Do we have enough to hold Finland? I mean, obviously those troops are trapped either way, but I'm just curious if we send all of the units available via the transports, what does this number get up to? We have 19 plus 7 is 26. We can drop another 7 is 33. So we can get that up to 43. That's pretty good. And then we'll potentially have the 6 fighters, so we can actually match that pretty good, which is nice. I mean, we'll probably just do that. And then we will at least be in position with those next turn, the transports here, to maybe then get a shot on Germany. I mean, eventually I'm hoping we get like a 30% chance or a 20% chance to hit Germany or something. That would be incredible. That's probably what we're looking for at this point. So I need to try and line that up. So we'll go ahead and drop everything into Germany. Problem is that we can't line that up because the frickin' British fighters need to be in Russia. Probably last turn was my chance. Maybe that was my chance. I mean, I don't think we should give up Russia. It's kind of the one thing kind of keeping me in the game right now. I think that's just a learning lesson. We need to be trying to keep our units in position, but honestly, these fighters will never be able to leave Russia without giving up Russia at this point going forward. He's going to have 14, 15 units a turn. Well, I guess it's just the next 2 turns. Dropping into Kazakh, but he's got 8 tanks plus the 14 guys. Wow. He's going to have 20 plus units coming into Kazakh next turn. So I guess the plan is to hold Russia for 1 more turn, and then we're going to have to retreat from Russia. And maybe we can use them as a decoy to try and hit Germany. That's the best guess I got. So we'll try to set up something that kind of supports that. It makes this round pretty easy though. We're gonna reload all these transports. We can get a bomber. Is that any valuable? I honestly don't think so. It's probably worth getting another fighter instead. Fighter will need to mobilize on the island though, because we're going to swing everything up north. Well, we don't, but we can drop it on 7. And then we can at least balance these out. There we go, 4 and 3. All right, that's going to do it for the purchase. Because why not, really? And like many turns this game, I don't think we have any attacks. He's just completely paralyzed us in this one. Just really good play by our opponent here. Really just strangled the life out of us. I don't think we have any attacks. We're gonna non-com everything to Finland, all the fighters to Moscow. That's good. That's gonna do it. So we'll close our combat. Non-combat, we'll move all 10 of these fighters to Russia. All of the units on the mainland will come up into Sea Zone 3, drop them into Finland. We'll bring all the boats up there. Aircraft carrier goes 7, so we can drop the fighter and then that can fly. This one unit will move in Africa. And as sad as it is, I think that is everything for the UK. All right, that will do it. Honestly, there's nothing else we can do. Yeah, we only have just these handful of units. So we'll close our turn there. Put the fighter on the carrier. Artilleries and the infantry into England. And we will see y'all back for US round number 9. US round number 9, and the icing on the shit cake that is this goddamn game. We've blundered our transports in Sea Zone 3. 4 transports down in the Atlantic. Quick recap of what Japan did. Just moved a bunch of units around, took Australia, these freaking bastards. The Australians did nothing to you. They're minding their own business, playing with their kangaroos and their barbecue, and you had to go in and just a total slap in the face. And they hit the destroyer, and the 4 transports took the bomber from Kazakh, I think it was. This is non-combat. Combat was, yeah, just 1 bomber. I was not calculating that Japan had any chance to hit any of these sea zones, and that's a rookie mistake. It's a good learning lesson, like a reminder that can happen, right? That, you know, bombers from Kazakh, from Evenki's another good spot that bombers can be kind of sneakily hidden. Even Yakut, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you got to be careful with the bombers, you know, kind of in the fringe Central Asia, Eurasia territories, because they can hit, and they can, obviously, we just saw. You got to be careful about that. So I'm glad it came in a game that we've lost at this point, right? I mean, let's call a spade. We are over 100 points in attack power now. It's pretty incredible it's gotten to this point. He finally has a transport in range, a couple transports in range of Hawaii. So I think this game will end very shortly. He's got a couple more in case those don't hit. We were fighting from the get-go for our lives. So the fact we've made it 10 rounds, I'm pretty happy with myself. I think it really has been difficult from the get-go. I'm gonna go and see through like the next couple turns. I'll speed run these. I am curious. I want him to try and hit Russia. I don't think he will. I think he'll obviously hit Hawaii, and he's probably gonna do both next turn is what he's expected to do, and just say, hey, I'm gonna get one of these and you can't take them both back. So we'll at least do that. So I won't forfeit. So we'll play this one out. That means we do need to be in a position to try and take Hawaii back. We can get a fighter into 10. We can get one of these. So we're gonna need to build a transport. So we build a transport. We're gonna need some boats to protect against destroyer subs. So I guess 2 destroyers. The other option is to get another boat, to be honest. Probably get another destroyer. And then we'll have 4 destroyers and a carrier and 1 fighter. I don't hate it. We can obviously get a fighter and then max the carrier. Then we'll have 3 destroyers and a full carrier. Yeah, let's do that, because the fighter is actually helpful in actually hitting Hawaii. So that'll be our purchase. We'll lock that in. The obvious question here, I'm asking myself, can we do Sea Zone 3? Bomber, 4 fighters. He obviously has then the 5 fighters and the 2 bombers. Woof. So probably not. We probably need to just kind of send those units to die, and then let's take France. I mean, the reality is we maybe had enough with the aircraft carrier and this destroyer. So be it. Enough calculation. I don't think we can go into 3. So we will have to, unfortunately, go ahead and bang this load into France. Phrasing. 4 into there, and then 1 into here. Send the 1 fighter into northwest, so we can bombard. Why is the cruiser bombarding? Yeah, we want to bombard there. We have the 2 units. Oh, I was actually on, yeah, not on the other one. So the fighter, I want to go in northwest because of the AA gun. It's the best we can do. And we'll let him hit our stack of units in Finland, although he maybe won't do that. We'll take Egypt. We'll take West Africa here, East Africa here. So we'll lock in that combat. We'll let the dice roll. Alright, well, combat was alright. Took the territories we wanted. Fighters to Russia. This fighter back to the carrier. Destroyer down. That should be enough to hold. We'll send these 4 transports back. We'll pick up these guys. Send this 1 transport up. Send this transport and this aircraft carrier and this destroyer. This fighter all towards the west coast. Africa, we will centralize everyone. That we can move into Central Africa. That's gonna do it for the Americans. The Russians, whoa, forgot we had some stuff to do. I'm just gonna say the Russians I don't think have much, so that should be another quick turn here. We can build 5 units, which means we can build 4. We'll go ahead and lock that in. Quickly just take a look at what our odds are to hold as is. I have no idea why I'm doing this. This does not matter. I literally typed out the first 2. I was like 25, 12, and then I saw 8 tanks, and I know he has like 10 aircraft from India. I mean, it's got to be close to 0. I'm just going to see what it is. It's got to be close to 0, though. All right, don't say there isn't a chance. 99.7 that they conquer. And 100% chance that they take with the air. So we will not be doing any attacks. We'll go ahead and push through the other turns, and I'm gonna make them earn it though. I'm gonna make them earn it. Close our turn here with the Russians. Mobilize our units into Russia. We'll see you guys back for a quick UK round number 10, and then we'll likely reconvene after that once Japan takes Moscow. We'll do a quick endgame analysis and talk through some thoughts. We'll see you guys then. United Kingdom round number 10. This one is officially in the bag. Germany went and hit our huge stack in Karelia. It looks like they got a really, really good outcome on that. Or sorry, Finland, not Karelia. Took out our 24 infantry, 9 artilleries, and our AA gun. So we had, what, 33? He went in with, well, we did hit 3 fighters, which is pretty wild. So we rolled 3 1s with our 1 AA gun, which is insane. And it goes to show you if we had the ability to put some fighters there, you know, we obviously would have had some odds to hold that. I mean, look at this German stack. He still has 5 fighters. I wonder if he bought this fighter. Did he buy that? Yeah, that's good. You know, he knows he's going to send his fighters in there. He's going to buy one. Makes total sense to me. Japan will will take Russia next turn. He obviously can take Hawaii as well. I'm going to speed through this, though, with the UK. We only have 25 IPC, so I essentially am resigning at this point, but I'm going to go ahead and make him, give him the satisfaction of, you know, taking Moscow in the last territory and closing the game on an actual victory. So for the UK, I mean, all we're just going to do is buy some transports. That's really all we can do. So we'll go ahead and lock that in. We'll fly this 1 fighter to Russia. Oh, no combats, I don't believe. Yeah, no combats. We will fly this 1 fighter to Moscow and see if we get lucky there. We'll swing this 1 guy into Egypt, why not? We'll close the non-com, drop the transports, go ahead and just put them into 9 or 8. Like I said, this game's over. And if he doesn't resign or finish the game next turn, well, we'll likely to just resign at this point, out of respect for our opponent and out of respect for a very, very good game. We'll close this one here. See you guys back for US 10, and then likely discuss thoughts on this game. And it is official. Moscow is burning. Japanese tanks are rolling through the streets of Moscow and essentially have won the game. We obviously knew that this was going to be the outcome when we came back for US round 10. And while we technically can take France, I don't see the need to do it. It's really not going to do anything other than just delay the inevitable. We'll lose next round. So out of respect for our opponent, they played a very, very good game. Chris, which is a hilarious name. I just love the first name. It's kind of like a dog that has a human name. You go over to your friend's house and they just got a new dog and they named it Keith. You just don't expect usernames to be just basic names. But our opponent Chris played a really, really good game. I really don't think he made any mistakes and didn't give us any room to breathe. He was really, really just constricting us the entire game. He got a monster Japan going, and there was nothing we could do. But I'm proud of the way we played. I thought we put up a good fight, about the best fight that I think we could have. Obviously, I want to hear from you guys, throughout. If there was different moments in the game you would have done something differently, something that maybe a chance you would have taken to potentially turn the tide. I'm sure there was an opportunity and I missed it. So please do point it out as you kind of watch through this. But overall, I'm not too upset with it, kind of how it went. So hats off to you, sir. Chris, very, very good game. So now that I have given props to my opponent, now we transition to the part of the end game recap where I just bitch and moan about how terrible the dice were and how it wasn't my fault. Jokes aside, yeah, I mean, we obviously had very, very tough dice early in the game for probably the first, 3 or 4 rounds. Obviously, we had a really bad Russia one, which immediately sets you back. But if I remember correctly, we had a really bad UK one. I think we tried to take back C-Zone 7 and we failed. And that really set us back. He had a sub and, 5 or 6 fighters just kind of lingering that made getting units into Europe very difficult. So we couldn't get in to support Russia as soon as we would have liked. And it took us a couple turns to get enough momentum and enough boats to actually push that sub out, push the fighters away, and start landings. But it wasn't enough. We did a great job, though, getting fighters and as many units as we possibly could to Moscow, and we saved Moscow from Germany, which I thought was a pretty good move on our part. And this is where my opponent deserves all the credit. He did an incredible job kind of seeing the winds shifting in regards to his best play and the opportunity presented to him by focusing Germany on the Americans and the British, creating a huge bottleneck in Karelia, and then taking out Russia with Japan. Because Japan was totally uncontested the entire game. And that's just really hard to do, but I don't think we had a choice, right? I mean, if we go back and look at the first 1-2 rounds of the game, and I told you, hey, the Axis are going to win this game. How do you think they win it? You'd say, well, I think they're going to take Moscow. And then you'd say, well, who takes Moscow? You'd say the Germans. So the fact we were able to fight that off, given just how dire things looked early in the game, is like a silver lining for me. But that did force us to leave Japan completely uncontested, and this is what happens. They're making, by the end of this game, well, obviously 7, but national production of 62. Well, he just took Russia and some other territories, but he's, around 50? The majority of the game, he got into Africa, forced us to fight for that. It took him a while to get to Australia and stuff. I would have done that way sooner, but he was focused on probably the right things, though. I mean, I'm not saying that was a mistake. How can you say it's a mistake? He focused on getting units from his factory in the East Indies and from India and start pushing them north. And it worked. So I certainly can't say that was the wrong move. So do I wish that I was able to put more pressure on Japan with the Americans? Yes, of course. Do I think we had the option to do that early in the game? No, I don't think we did. If we did that, I think Russia falls to Germany. I do think essentially because of how bad the first 2 rounds went with correct play, our opponent was going to win this game. But I think there's a lot for me to take away from this game. And even in cases where Germany looks like a monster, I think there's 2 things I need to try and take away from that. One is we need to probably take some 50-50 fights. See if we can do something to try and get lucky in a decisive fight, maybe even like a 40% fight. But we need to do something to try and turn the tide. And we need to try and get pressure on Japan. It's really, really hard to go 10 rounds with one country in the game completely uncontested. So leaving Japan on its own for 10 rounds is too hard. Eventually, we have to put pressure on them. So next time I'm in a position like that, I'll have to get creative with some ways to try and keep pressure on Japan. Maybe defend India with a little more, put a little more emphasis on that. But we had to focus on Moscow. So it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But those are the things, obviously, you try and take away. But I had a lot of fun with this one, even though we lost. I think it was very instructive. I'm certainly going to take a lot from this game. Our opponent played very, very, very well. So again, hats off to them. If you enjoyed this, please do like, subscribe, comment. You know, these videos, they take a ton of time, not just to play them, but obviously to edit them. Really appreciate if you can subscribe if you do enjoy it. I'm going to continue to put out more videos and more games going forward. And having the support of those watching is obviously very, very nice. But that's going to do it for this one. We will go ahead and officially tenure our resignation. And with that, oh, we don't get the fancy screen. Let's at least try to end this on a banger here. There it is. Ooh. Jokes aside, this was a great game. That's going to do it. We'll see you guys all in the next one.